everyone, and welcome to another commentary podcast. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Oliver.
Oliver is back to do Man of Steel. Oliver, I'm so excited to finally do this movie.
I know. Everyone's been asking me to do one and constantly bugging me when's it going to happen with me and you teaming up to do a commentary. And it's finally happening. But it's been months since the last one we did, so we're finally getting it done today.
Okay, so before we get started, because of course this is like maybe one of, if not the most polarizing superhero movie ever made now.
I think it is, yeah. It's a Marmite movie. You either love it or hate it.
Yeah. Where are you falling on it at the moment before we start watching? Are you as like happy with it as you were when we kind of drooled all over it, or are you?
No.
No, not so much.
It's people can find the review we did on your channel somewhere, and I was really positive about it. But so was I. I've only seen it 3 times since it came out, which is not a good thing because I'm a huge Superman fan, and I've only seen it 3 times. That's saying something about the film. So a lot, my opinion hasn't changed drastically, but there's a few issues which I'll raise throughout the film.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I had the same thing, and I've said on the channel a lot recently that I'm really conflicted about it because I still love what I love about it, but there's stuff that I didn't really pick up on that I didn't have an issue with when I first saw it that I'm starting to not be sure about it, and I'm worried kind of about implications and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we'll get into all that as we talk about it. If you've never listened to one of these with us before, what we do is we talk about the film while we're watching it. So it's a commentary track, but it's also a podcast, which means if you'd like to listen to it, while watching the film with us, you can pull out your Blu-ray, your DVD, or however else you might want to watch it. Get it past all the menus, get it to timestamp 0. You'll press play as soon as I say press play, and as soon as I say now. And if you want to listen to it without watching it, you can do that as well. And Oliver and I will do our level best to provide enough context so that you'll know what we're talking about if you've seen the film. So 2 hours and 20 minutes, Oliver.
The same length as Superman the movie.
For some strange reason, they made it exactly the same length. When I saw it the first time, I found myself wondering what must have been cut to make that happen.
That was their goal. Keep it the same length.
Keep it the same length. That's the only thing we're gonna do to homage that movie. Everything else we want to be entirely different, but that's not wholly true. But all right. So here we go. Man of Steel. And everybody, like I said, get it past the menus, get it to timestamp 0, and please press play right now. Oh, I didn't notice that until just now, Oliver. They've got the Kryptonian glyphs around the Warner Brothers symbol.
Yeah, I just noticed that. How bizarre.
That's cool.
That's
neat.
That's nice attention to detail.
Good stuff. Yeah, it's even on this logo, too.
Wow.
It's on the Legendary logo.
Now, when this film starts in a few seconds past the logos, were you surprised there wasn't a shot of Krypton starting the film? Because throughout the Krypton sequence, I think you only see Krypton as a planet in one shot, I think, before it explodes, I think. Or, when they're sent to the Phantom Zone, Zod and company are. But there isn't much of the exterior of the planet.
There's not. I hadn't really thought about that. I went in expecting them to try to get as far away from the iconography of the original as possible. So to start with a very different visual makes a lot of sense. So that didn't surprise me. But you're right. We don't get to see the outside of the planet very much.
This is kind of the change of direction for this film was because there isn't much focus on the destruction of Krypton. It's more about and it was a little bit disappointing to me. But other than that, I was really happy with how Krypton looked, but also a little bit disappointing that you didn't see more of the other people on the planet, the civilization, society. Yeah. You see the council and stuff, but it seems quite sort of closed in and only focused around a small number of people.
Yeah, that is a thing that it sort of has in common with the original, right? Where like you don't see a lot of people, and it looks kind of like vast and like kind of a vast wasteland, and people are in pockets. One of the difficulties I have with the whole Krypton thing now is that I loved it in the theater. And I loved getting to see this much of Krypton, and I thought that all of the pseudoscience and stuff was really interesting. But the problem is, it's way more interesting than I even realized when you hear the people that made it talking about it.
Yeah, they've really created a great world of Krypton that isn't fully
It's not
covered
fully
in the film,
realized.
and
You don't get to see a lot of it, and
I
yeah.
like seeing all the other animals and stuff. You know, when the kid, you see the baby crying, and you see it cuts to the animals outside, roaring, and it's it's a great change of direction for Krypton. Like, were you happy at all with the design of the elders? I mean, some people sort of said it looked like Time Lords from Doctor Who.
I guess so. I didn't give it a whole lot of thought. I didn't expect big floating heads.
It's kind of,
You know.
I like the idea. It does remind me a bit like Star Trek mixed with Dark Crystal. These sort of,
Yeah.
all the outfits are sort of very
You're
over the top.
you're right, and I don't know. There's something about some of the aesthetic that even reminds me. Maybe I don't know why I'm saying of maybe a little bit of even like Zion from the Matrix.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. But the guy
Um,
isn't one of the council members, an actor from the film War Games. I think he passed away very shortly after shooting this scene.
really.
Yeah, he's very thin and gaunt in the corner.
But yeah, you're right. The destruction of Krypton does get totally lost in this debate of Jor-El wanting to send off the Codex so that Krypton can be, rebuilt in a better way someplace else because he doesn't believe in the direction things have gone. And that's all a direct result of the fact that he knows the planet's going to be destroyed, but I don't think there's nearly enough talk about it.
No, I think I that was sort of a disappointing factor for me was it needed more on the destruction of Krypton and seeing other people sort of coping with that. As it all exploded, sort of just when we get to it in about 10 minutes or so, it sort of happens quite quickly. So it feels like it's only its destruction is only on the background and not the main focus of the story, which is as we have to respect. It's a different take on the story, but it kind of deviates more from what we expect.
But the problem with it isn't that it's different. It's that it is actually the farthest sorry, I'm watching all this action. It's what happens with the destruction of the planet is because of everything that these people have done to themselves.
Yeah.
So it's the culmination of all of that, and I don't think that we get a real good sense of that until Jor-El starts telling Clark about it later.
No, you don't. No, and when he shows Clark of what happened to Krypton, its civilization, and and its history, that's a really good part of the film, and I love that idea.
Yeah, it is.
That's really sort of expands upon the original film where Jor-El spoke to Kal-El about who he is and his importance. And this does certainly update it and gives you more information.
Well, it's also just different.
It is different, yeah.
It's not the same kind of society. I mean, you've got all this genetic engineering stuff and this kind of nature versus nurture argument. So the idea that they talk about in the visual commentary for this movie, if you haven't seen that I don't think really comes out enough in the film, is that they've genetically engineered everything.
Yes, they have, yeah.
So so like what you're seeing right now, it all looks natural, but it's not. This is their technology. Like everything they've created is like biological.
Mm-hmm.
And so like even this dragon looking thing that he's flying on, they built that. Like so they have the kind of like crystal growth thing without crystals.
Yes.
In this, so they grow everything, but they don't do it with crystals. And I think that those like the stick things that they have that they show you during this and later are supposed to kind of resemble crystals, but they're not crystals.
Sure.
And so they did that a little bit differently. And again, I don't mind that. That's totally cool. But the whole idea is that Krypton has become totally genetically engineered. They want to control everything, and that's where free will gets lost. And that's why Jor-El, going against that culture, feels the need to have a natural sun to restart everything because they've stagnated. They don't have any progress anymore, and what's more, they have no hope because they have no individuality. They have no free will. And those are the ideas that I really grasp onto, that I really liked.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have no problem with those ideas, and I really wanted them to spend more time on Krypton. You know,
So did I.
a lot of the great moments when you see with Jor-El, because Zack Snyder's gone for the approach of shooting things very much Steadicam, or everything's like very shaky. So, for
Yeah.
example, when he's traveling on that flying dragon thing, it moves along so quickly, and he's shooting a lot of it in close-ups, which is kind of a little bit difficult to sometimes understand what's going on.
I had that problem a lot with
Um,
this movie.
and I,
When they zoom in and zoom out a lot, I kept going, "This is not Serenity,
yeah,
guys."
I know. It's a bit frustrating, and if you see it on a big screen, and I saw it in an IMAX, it became like just a collage of scenes. You know, it was very difficult to see what's going on. Um, but other than that, I mean, it's a fascinating sort of world, and I wanted to see more of that. And
Yeah, I mean, it's a credit to the movie. They created something that they had to kind of truncate because of the kind of story they were telling. And we'll talk about uneven pacing,
sure,
because I really do think that some of the arguments that people have made about that are warranted. Starting this with what feels like the last 15 minutes of a different movie is a really cool approach.
yeah,
But the problem with it is that it's also the best part of the entire film, in my opinion. Because just the culture and stuff is so fascinating, and like, okay, so you've got all of those ideas about free will and nature and stuff that play out kind of with Zod and with Zod and the computer Jor-El and Superman later, but the setup is better than the payoff of the execution, I think. And so what I really wish we had somehow, and I think Oliver people would have paid money to see it, this should have been its own movie. We should have gotten to see the rest of this.
well, Russell Crowe was sort of jokingly saying, I think after the film came out, like, you know, tweeting that there should be a whole separate film on Krypton, or like a series on its backstory. And that's always been the fascinating thing about Superman. With even the first film, you know, the first 45 minutes of the film, I think are perfect for me. Everything about Krypton is fantastic, and even the animated cartoon, the sort of two
Yeah.
episode pilot thing they did, I think it was all, you know, that's really good. I mean, I love that whole sort of, you know, Brainiac's twisting the council about, you know, Jor-El's ideas about the destruction of Krypton, and also with Man of Steel, you've got these new ideas, but some people don't like them, but some people love them, and I have no problem with them. But as you're saying, you want to spend more time there.
Well, and the difference between this and the other two things that you mentioned is that they still make all of that in those two versions, in those iterations, really good backstory for the real story. In this movie, this
Yeah,
feels like the real story to me.
yeah. I mean,
That's the problem. And so like Superman, that is all set up. It's kind of backwards. It's like this is the real story, and then Superman is thrust into the real story when it finally all gets paid off by Zod finding him,
yeah,
and then that's all just kind of a prequel to what will hopefully be a better movie when we get to see more Superman later, as far as a better Superman movie. So what I feel like we have is a pretty good Krypton movie that oddly spends too much time with Superman, but not enough time in his head that I really appreciate him the way I like to. And we'll get to all that later. I'm getting ahead of myself. But you see what I'm saying? Um all of the stuff with what Zod does later when he gets to Earth, and the reasons that he feels like the ends justify the means, and that he has to recreate Krypton because he's kind of genetically programmed to protect his people, and then kind of there's kind of parallels with like him protecting Krypton, Superman protecting Earth, all that stuff. That I would have appreciated him a whole lot more if I'd actually gotten to see him and Jor-El's relationship.
well,
He
you only get a sort of glimpse at it at the beginning, and then later on
barely
when you see the
barely
ghost of Jor-El
a
communicating with Zod.
whisper. I mean,
Yeah,
he says, you know, it haunts him, and I love that line, the way he says it. It's great, you know, when he says, "Oh, it haunted me." But the problem is, they don't get to seem like friends. We don't really get any of that, and so I'm just saying, like, I don't know, man. This really feels like the last 15 minutes to a movie I should have gotten to see.
yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I know it's
It's frustrating, and I'm frustrated because of what I love about it. Because there's a lot to love about this.
there is a lot of great stuff in it, but it's. Do you think some of the problems with it, sort of, because they may outweigh some of the good, but even though there's quite a lot of good stuff, the small number of bad problems kind of outweigh the good stuff and kind of make you feel disappointed with the movie as a whole.
Yeah, it's a lot of structural stuff, and
Some
we'll
of it's
get to
clunky
that.
editing. I mean, they later on when you sort of got moments of flashbacks in Clark's life to moments with his dad, they're always a bit one too many. They come at very awkward moments, not awkward
Yeah,
to
and
a major degree, but
you get
also
lost. You don't feel like it's a flashback that happens
no.
in the moment.
There's not
But
smooth transitions.
yeah,
It's a little bit yeah. Maybe that's because they have to edit it to get down to 2 hours 20. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, so some of it is that, and some of it is just communication issues,
Mm.
and we'll get to that too. But like, I feel like a lot of this movie is really cool ideas on paper, and then it's too cold.
Yeah.
In the moment where I'm like, okay, I'm really into your philosophy, but I don't know if I care about any of the people involved. And I
The
want
funny
to,
thing
and
is
I'm
about
trying
this.
really hard. There's some great performances, but when people say the movie is joyless, I didn't have that experience with with the first time because I was taken in so much by the aesthetic,
Yeah.
especially of Krypton. And also, I was a little biased because, as I've said before, this feels like the world of the Last Days of Krypton novel, which I'm in love with. It's one of my favorite things I've ever read. And when I read that book, I said, I want to see that as a movie. And I kind of got part of it. So I was like really stoked about that. Because, like, in that book, they do the same thing where, like, they destroy themselves through too much, like, terraforming their own planet and that kind of stuff. And in order to try to solve it, they put a phantom zone in the middle of they put like a pocket of the phantom zone in the middle of the planet in order to suck up all of the radiation that's in the middle of the planet that's going to blow the planet up.
Sure.
And then they destroy it through the phantom zone.
That's crazy.
Which
I
is
never read that. I never read that book.
which is the coolest way to blow up Krypton I've ever heard. I just gave away the best part of that book, but that's how they did it. Well, this movie, they don't quite do that,
no.
but they do the same kind of thing where it's we destroyed ourselves.
The thing is with this film, okay, with Kal-El leaving, they've got the emotional point down really well. Like in the first film, when Marlon Brando sends Kal-El, he leaves, and the Superman theme kicks in and he goes off. But the destruction of Krypton, I feel there's no emotions there. There needed to be some strong emotions there to sort of make the audience feel very sad for what's happening. It just sort of this sort of happens, and
there's no discussion about it.
I know, and the music doesn't. And the music doesn't deliver on that.
We are 15 minutes in, and you are going to hear me use that phrase over and over and over again.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that's the biggest issue that tends to keep coming back for me in this movie is there's no discussion of things.
Right.
And I don't mean like blatantly spelling stuff out.
You mean sort of like some good expository dialogue,
And not just expository, but like it seems like the destruction of Krypton is obligatory. That has to happen because it's Krypton. But the thing about it is, as I said, it's the culmination of all of the horrible things that the Kryptonians have done to themselves. It's the most important thing that happens. It's the whole reason Jor-El thinks he's got to send Kal-El off and try to create hope someplace else and be the bridge of two peoples and all of that stuff. So, like, there needs to be discussion about it. They don't talk about it.
They don't. And also, there needs to be a sense of a countdown happening. Something's. They're all just completely unaware. It's like you watch like the early episode of the first episode of like Thundercats when Thundera's going to explode. But there's a great sense of urgency to it, and there's none of that in this, and that's why it kind of didn't really work for me. But other than that, I mean, you've got the great visuals of the world and the planet, and you see the sun, right next to Krypton, which also is different. I mean, it does also in the first one where you got the sun getting closer to Krypton. And this one is also in the background, but not a part of the story. But it is an odd design, isn't it, coming up, where they get formed into those sort of very penis-like traps and get sent to the Phantom Zone. It's very...
That's what people always say about it, yeah. So one of the big criticisms about this the Krypton stuff in this movie, of course, is that there's just too much stuff going on and it's confusing and people can't follow it because they get thrust right into it. And it's that in Made Us Rest thing. Let me ask you this question. Does it... Oh, sorry, I gotta stop for a second because after a while, Zod saying "I will find him" gets really comedic.
I know, it's become now the sort of thing where
It
Superman
is
Returns,
his.
where you got,
Uh,
Lex saying wrong,
well,
Um,
the problem is it's his kneel before Zod, and
yeah,
it's like the most mundane thing to say. It's like okay, fine, it's your motivation, we get it.
yeah.
Like we get that's what you want to do, but he just keeps saying it, and like there's this escalation where it gets really funny. There's those ships you don't like. But anyway, but anyway, what I was gonna say is, and you notice that like we're rushing to get everything into this Krypton
Because it's
portion because
moving
there's not
along
enough
very
of it.
quickly now.
It's moved. Yeah, I'm like, can we please pause and talk about this part? But anyway, so can we make a diagram on the screen? So, the, I'm wondering if Zod is just like a really bad commander.
Well, I wouldn't say he's
Because
a bad commander.
well, here's the reason I ask though, because he goes after Zod and kills him because he wants to send the Codex into space, and it
I say
seems
when he goes
like
after Jarell. Sorry, you meant.
oh, I'm sorry, is that
Yeah.
I meant Jarell? Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so Zod goes. Thank you. Zod goes after Jarell, and it's because he doesn't want him to send the Codex into space. Well, wouldn't the Council also not want that?
Well, yeah, it doesn't really. Yeah, I know.
That's what I'm saying. I don't
The
understand what's
council.
happening
See,
there.
council is obviously playing up the idea that the council is poorly run, like most councils in the UK or in America. Um, but it's a kind of another.
But they would still try to stop that from happening.
Sure.
So like why wouldn't Zod just try to like manipulate them and be duplicitous and go on their side for a minute and then they team up to stop that from happening and then he takes over?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
this moment
What I'm
here,
saying
sorry,
is
when Krypton's just being
yeah,
destroyed, it should have cut to other families on Krypton just running away
yeah.
or just cowering in the corner. It's that emotion is not there. It's, it drives me nuts now. Actually, thinking about it.
But it feels like we've got two obligatory things that have to happen. Krypton's got to blow up right now.
Mm.
Like it's not so much what they are as that they both coincide. So Zod's got to take over because that's a thing we know Zod tries to do, and the planet's got to explode, and they both got to happen. And we don't know how much time passes between them, but they both got to happen real fast. Well, Zod says later in the movie that the only thing that he and Jor-El agreed on was that the planet was going to blow up.
Yes, Zod already knew what was going on.
Okay, so he knew that was going to happen. So like, why did he try to take over right then in order to stop Jor-El from sending Kal-El into space? Why didn't he team up with the council? I don't understand that.
Oh, okay, yeah. You've basically, as you highlighted earlier, Zod being a poor commander, you basically spotted a flaw in his in his ideals and
Yeah,
his
well,
leadership.
the flaw is in the script. The
Yeah,
flaw is
yeah.
they want us to see both of those things happen.
Sure, but we don't know
I don't
what's
get
been
that.
deleted. Though I don't think many stuff's been shown, like deleted scenes. So there could have been a lot more Kryptonian stuff.
I'm sure there was
we
at
may
least on
see one
tape.
day. Were you happy with this edit here because he lands in small and then cuts straight to present day?
Um, that's okay with me, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still. I gotta be honest with you. I still haven't completely decided how I feel about the way we bounce back and forth.
No, I was saying
A lot of people really hate it. My I don't know. I've seen it like you. We're on the same page on this. Three times I've seen it,
yeah.
and I don't know. My verdict is still a little bit out on that. I know what they're doing here. They want to kind of show him doing heroic things to show where his
Sure.
heart
I
is.
like the idea that Superman's traveling around the world and trying to find himself and learning how to sort of be amongst everyone else essentially to a certain degree. And it plays on the idea because I think in the comics in the 80s Superman went traveling around the world, didn't he?
Yeah, that's also where Earth One does it too.
Yeah, and I think
I
I think
think.
like the Ruby Spears cartoon at the end, it always had a segment where Superman was, from before he was Superman, going around and had photographs and stuff of what he did. But I don't mind this idea. I mean, also, once the film, I'm not happy though with the way it kind of looks. Because when I found out the director of photography was the same guy who did Transformers, I was like, oh, for God's sake! And
Oh.
it does look kind of the same, but with less color as well. And I mean, because when we saw Watchmen, no, when I saw Watchmen and I saw, it looked good. I mean, I don't know what most people's opinions are on the film. I mean, I quite enjoyed it, but fans who liked the book didn't like the film.
I'm a huge proponent for that movie. I did a 45-minute dissertation on it. It's one of my favorite things.
Oh, there you go. That's good then. But
Yeah, no, that's one of my
I
favorite
love the
things.
look of it. I love the photography, and I wished he kept the same DP from that film. And I'm not. There's too much. Like the colors are all subdued, and a Superman film shouldn't look like that. And that was one of my major problems with Superman Returns. The colours were just so muted. But
okay, I wanted to talk. Is this a good place to talk about the muted color thing?
Probably not. There's a lot of colour going on here, but also.
Oh no, that's totally cool. It's just make sure we bring that back because that's a huge thing I wanted to cover too.
Sure. But I'm sure this scene also got scenes deleted because there's a moment where he's running in the behind the scenes. He's wearing a t-shirt as he's going through the fire.
Yeah.
And it's cut from him jumping on the side of it, then cutting to inside where he breaks the door open. I'm sure there's more scenes there as well. I don't know. It happens too quickly, all these moments. I wish it would, dwell on them more, and sort of enjoy itself. It seems to be too quick to sort of move along.
Yep, it's too functional. It's just worried about getting representative things in there. Okay, we got Superman saving some people. Now let's move on to his background and how he was kind of feeling out of place and trying to figure his powers out. Okay, got that knocked out. Now let's, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, I to be honest, I mean, all the stuff. I mean, I like the stuff with Kevin Costner. I think Kevin Costner's a very good, Jonathan Kent. But the whole school bit here, it does nothing for me. This kind of feels a bit redundant.
Plus, it's just creepy because his teacher is the president from Babylon from Battlestar Galactica.
Wasn't she the woman also in something about Mary? Like
I don't remember. It's been so long since I've seen that.
The woman no, it's not her. Sorry, it's someone else. It looks a bit like her, like a younger version.
I think I'm right though. I think that's the president from Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, okay. But yeah,
I didn't look that up.
It's really bad because the teacher treats him, like crap to a degree, and he's hiding in the thing. And all the kids there. Why would she get all the kids out to sort of,
I don't know.
Just stand outside the classroom. It's not the classroom. Stand out, outside the cupboard.
Why wouldn't you guys stay there? Yeah, you're right. That's bizarre. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
It's it's a movie thing of wouldn't it be more dramatic if all the kids were there? Well, yeah, but why? Why would they be there?
I suppose because it's cut in a way where he's been in there for a while, then the teachers and the kids will come out and sort of hassled him.
But like you said, we got pacing issues where the way it's shot, it doesn't feel like there's any time in between those. You can edit that in such a way where time seems to have passed, and all you have to do is have him sitting in there for about 10 seconds looking around.
Yeah.
And then we would kind of get the sense when we came back, and then just kind of don't be so frantic with your camera moves.
I know this. It drives me nuts, this film, because sometimes I think to myself, Zack Snyder, just put the bloody camera on a tripod. And
put it on a tripod.
Yeah. Just stop walking around with it. Keep it still.
Well, I don't think he bought tripods for this movie. I
mean, a lot of the behind the scenes, he's holding the camera himself. I mean,
well, he even says, and I mean, I'll give him props for that. I like a director that'll get in and get his hands dirty, and he's doing a lot of filming himself. That's cool. I like a director that's actually part cameraman. That's cool. But he even says at one point in behind the scenes stuff that this is a handheld movie, which implies that it's all shot like that.
Superman doesn't need to be shown in that form of filmmaking. It needs to be sort of composed, well shot. Well, that's just traditional, but
that's really
Batman Begins has it cameras nicely, all shots well composed. The camera's in the right position, but not just constantly moving and shaking all the time. It's not excessive in terms of you're watching a stereotypical sort of Hollywood action movie where they can't keep the camera still and you don't know what they're doing. And
do you know if the house number 536 is a reference to anything?
536. I don't know. It could be like a comic issue.
Yeah, I wonder. Okay, so while we're talking, I'm going to look up a couple of 536
Action Comics 536 or something.
Yeah, I'll look up Action and I'll look up Superman. We'll see what each of those is.
I think this whole scene when he got out of the...
This is always fun.
Out of the water. I think that was probably his biggest shape, wasn't it? I think he got stupidly big for that one scene.
Yeah, yes he did.
But this is the one flashback I quite liked about him saving the school bus. I think it's it's a good moment to sort of because it's a good flashback because he sees the school bus and then it jogs a memory, which is great transition.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and there is some of that, and that's where my conflictedness comes from, and not being sure how this should have been ultimately edited together, because a lot of people say let's do it like the Donner film, where we have Krypton, and then we have his childhood, and then we have him becoming Superman. And in this, they do those second and third things kind of together, and the way they're trying to frame it is he has flashbacks that are in the moment based on memories that trigger things, and so each of the kind of like Lost, each of the flashbacks is supposed to inform something that's happening currently. And I think the problem is they're not consistent enough with that idea that people understood that that's what they were doing.
I think the problem is that they knew going in, everyone knows Superman's backstory. Everyone, even the average punter, knows the backstory of Superman. So they go, right, okay, let's get through these bits quickly enough, and let's reference, so we get them in enough as we can, and cover ourselves, so it is an origin story and not just we're just doing it for the hell of it. So you've got the flashbacks there, but they're not. They do kind of seem slightly redundant in a way, where you could have got away with not having them and just be a random straight into Superman, and but then it wouldn't have worked in this new reboot of Superman. But that's the problem it has, where it's not doing it like the original or going from A to B. It's kind of very much jumbled up. It could have been done more successfully if they chose their flashbacks more carefully.
Yeah, and possibly just the reason that he's having them because like I said, I think the idea is supposed to be that this stuff is supposed to inform what's happening in present day. The problem is, I feel like we spend so much time in the past once we get there that we forget about present day.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're like, oh, there's a reference point. Okay, like this would work a little better in prose.
I mean, this part is the longest flashback, isn't it? It needs to be addressed because we've cut straight ahead after the rocket, and then you've got to cut back again to sort of show where it landed and its history. But also, I mean, the kid at the moment, the fat kid who works in the
IHOP.
That's it, IHOP. Yeah. I keep forgetting his name. Now, which character are they referencing in this?
No, that's Pete Ross.
That's Pete Ross. Okay.
That is Smallville Pete Ross. Yeah.
Right, okay.
And I will point out some other Smallville references.
I mean,
of course,
obviously Lana.
Of course, that's.
Merger, wasn't there?
I mean, Pete Ross, of course, is a comic book character, but there's lots of cool references to comic book Smallville and TV show Smallville.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Good. And I will point some of those out. So the line that he has here, Kevin Costner, Jonathan Kent, that was in all the trailers, where he says maybe you should have let those people die. That's one of the things that people really freak out about, that Clark didn't have the good, wholesome, traditional upbringing because his father didn't want him to go out and save people. But I think, again, a lot of it...
in the original way, you're not supposed to show off with your powers. You're here for a reason. It doesn't know what the reason is, but it was done in a very tender way, and an even shorter way as well. You only delivered that way to put it in like 2 or 3 minutes, and the weight of that dialogue outweighs anything Kevin Costner does in this film. Not Kevin Costner's fault; it's just David Boyer's fault.
But that's a really good, and I'm gonna pin a lot of the blame on him for things.
The good stuff in the Dark Knight trilogy is probably Christopher Nolan's brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like I don't know. The word you used was tender, and I like that because it doesn't feel that way enough like it should, just because it doesn't feel like we're spending enough time with this guy. I mean, one of the very first things you hear him say after you first meet the character is, maybe you should have let those people die. Let us get to know him a little bit first. And I mean, maybe some people would say, well, you just don't have enough time in this movie to do Krypton and this and the stuff with Zod later, but I mean, like, half this movie is stuff blowing up. So yeah, you did. You see what I'm saying? I'm just saying that, like, it's a very uneven film. What's weird is my wife and I were watching this the other night, and she said it's weird that the first half moves kind of slow.
It does.
And what's weird is it does move slow, but yet it's trying to cram all this stuff in all at the same time. And I think the reason you feel that way, or the reason she felt that way, is because we're so distanced from our protagonist and from supporting characters we're supposed to be interested and care about.
Oh, of course. But as I was saying, as I said earlier, about the moments with Jonathan and comparison to the original movie, this line here coming up, is an important line, and it does show, as I said, in a reference to the original one, about in regards to tender moments, you know, he goes, "Can I still be your son?" He goes, "Of course you're my son." That's a really good line. I like that moment because even though he's an alien, he still you know treats him as his son, and he you know lets his son know that.
But it would have been nice if somehow we could have gotten
the
something like
that
before he says, maybe you should have let all those people. Here's the thing. He has very logical reasons for being conflicted about this, and obviously he's not heartless.
No, he's not.
He's got a needs of the many thing going on. What Jonathan is saying is someday, and this is the part of my problem with it, is that I don't know what he thinks is going to happen.
Uh-huh.
But what he's saying is someday you're gonna be able to you're going to be really important. You're going to, you know, the world is going to need you. And if people find out before they're ready for that, then that can't happen. So you can't let yourself be seen doing these things before the world's ready for it. Here's the thing. I would have flipped that if I had been writing this script. I would have made it less about the world being ready and more about Clark being ready.
Sure.
Because throughout this, we see it demonstrated in scenes that Clark isn't ready for the world to see him. For he does like that's why he does stuff in secret and everything. But especially when he's a kid, there's a scene later that I think is really, really important, and I don't think the movie would work at all without it.
Mm-hmm.
Where he wants to beat up some bullies, and Jonathan says he's got to learn to be patient and keep that under control, and not just freak out on people, and he's got to have responsibility with his powers, and that's about him not being ready yet.
Right.
I mean, so I wish that had been a little bit more at the forefront, because if it was, I would much more appreciate and understand why Jonathan Kent feels like there's some magical thing that's gonna happen that's gonna suddenly make it to where he's able to save the world and people can know about it, because it's almost as if he knows Zod is coming. The first time I saw this, that was my one really big hang up, was it feels like he knows that someday, like he's read the script. And that someday Clark Kent is going to get a costume from his real father, and he's going to be, because what does he think is going to happen when he keeps saying, the world isn't ready, but someday it will? What's someday?
Well,
what does he think about?
It's probably just an idea in his mind that people won't accept him until later on. But what I feel about this whole movie, Superman just seems unprepared for the entire movie. I mean, by the end, he kind of becomes Superman, but you don't really do. He's not. I think at this age point in his life, he'd be somewhat okay. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to use my powers. And there isn't enough of him going around the world, essentially saving people to a certain.
No, there's not.
There's not enough of him saving people, and that's kind of the biggest gripe people had with it. With my friends, or like, he's not doing Superman things. Okay, he destroys the world engine, which is, he saves millions of lives, billions of lives, But after that, there isn't much of him saving people, in terms of you're not physically seeing him save people. I would have preferred, if Superman kind of knew what he wanted to do and who he was, once he got the suit, he had a strong idea in his mind. But at this point, he just seems so aloof all the time. He just seems a bit confused. I think at this point in his age and his intelligence, he'd be a lot more,
He's 33 years old, and he's still kind of got the Smallville thing going on, where he just can't figure out what he wants to do with himself. And I guess, I don't know, I get the sense that Snyder and Goyer and maybe even Nolan thought that was somehow more realistic.
Yeah.
That the idea
Possibly,
is that
I mean, it's his whole approach to changing things.
The idea that he's trying to live up to his father.
Yeah.
And his father said, you can't show, the world's not ready, you can't show your powers off yet. And so he's trying to live up to that because he allowed his father to die for that ideal.
That's a fair argument, and probably an argument people would have raised with my comment I said earlier. But yeah.
By the way, real quick, we talked over the scene in the bar, and I just felt the need, because I was going to say that, I just felt the need, before we get too far away from it, to say, excuse me, would you like to step outside?
Yeah. I really like that scene, actually. I mean, it's the way the guy sort of just bounces off Clark as soon as he touches him, and when he gets his whole Laurie just like crams on those pieces of like wood.
And the 18-wheeler stabbed through that thing outside is pretty much the exact same gag as the cars stacked up on top of each other in the pilot of Smallville.
Yes, that is right. That's true. But also, when I first saw this film, I didn't realise Clark had gone in and given Lois her bags, and he walked straight out.
Yes, I didn't the first time either. That is cool.
I think it's great because it shows
the
you
they meet.
they're really, because in reality, Superman will whip around the world so quickly. Yes. And I like that thing where he's there all the time because he's listening. But the thing is, when in the bar, when these two military guys are discussing this, UFO, as it were, those important moments for Superman to find things out are kind of throwaway bits of dialogue. Yeah. And after the first time I saw it, I did catch it, thankfully, but my friend didn't. He was like, "What? Where did he get there?" I was like, "Well, they spoke about it in the bar," and he was like, "Oh, right."
Yeah, it feels as though the right things are not brought to the forefront.
Yeah.
Correct. Like the priority that's in front of us is in weird kind of places. And again, I don't mean that the movie has got to be like not give its audience any credit and be right in our face about everything and spoon feed us. You know how much I hate that.
Yeah.
But this kind of does sometimes.
But it shows in how Zack Snyder directs a story and how he tells a story, and
some of that is in the directing and not in the script.
Yeah, and it's his direction, and it's not. And is this supposed to be the Fortress of Solitude? Some people say it is. Some people say, well, it's just a big spaceship. It's not a fortress, is it? What is it supposed to be?
I think it's supposed to be our allusion to the fortress, because we're going to see that ship take off.
No, exactly. But then it's going to crash. But we're not. Yeah. But it's kind of also in the sequel. Is there going to be somewhere for Superman to hang out and sort of,
Yeah, where's he going to go? I think, and again, this is coming from a fan perspective. I guess if somehow you lived under a rock and this was you're 5 and this was your first exposure to Superman. I hope you didn't get nightmares from the skull scene. But and you didn't know about the fortress, then that's kind of whatever. But from I don't know, just from everything I know about Superman, and obviously they're expecting us to know, and I'll make this point again in a minute. They're expecting us, I think, with a lot of this material to know Superman already, because one of the things that's supposed to keep us involved is look how different it is from what you're used to. Is like we're in the Arctic. Yeah. Like the very, very early Superman and Lois Lane meet in the Arctic. They're evoking all of that fortress iconography really early. So we're supposed to be looking at this and going, "Oh, cool, they're in the Arctic," and then they're gonna not do the fortress, I guess, just to be, different.
Were you happy at all with the idea that Lois is essentially finding out he's Superman very early on?
I love everything about it.
Good, because it does show that Lois is not stupid, and she's.
It
shows that she's an intelligent reporter.
That's the big thing that works with this notion that I think they're playing up, and it could just be me, but in the theater, I was really taken in by all of this in the sequence, because I was like, because this is a sequence that actually does allow itself to have an air of mystery and set for a minute a little bit, and like, there's this kind of feeling of wonder and what's going to happen, what have we found, and I really got the sense from it that Superman fans were supposed to watch this and be kind of taken in by we're in new territory. Superman and Lois have already met before he even has the Clark Kent thing at all, so we can do anything now.
Exactly.
Like 20 minutes in, we can go anywhere we want with this. So even you fans, you have no idea what's gonna happen, and you can be surprised now. And I was very excited about that. And again, I'm not saying I like it just because it's contrary to what we had before. I'm with you. I think that it makes Lois a smarter character, but also she's an investigative reporter. It's kind of neat that Superman, before he's Superman, is the story. That, like, she stumbles upon this guy and wants to write a story about it and isn't allowed to. I think all that's really good stuff.
No, definitely. Oh, one scene earlier, which we hadn't said.
Yes.
Who was the other person that escaped this ship? Because there was one escape pod empty, wasn't there?
Yeah, and it's supposed to be Supergirl.
Oh, it's supposed to be Supergirl, was it?
As far as we know.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought, but then she'd be well old, wouldn't she? But
it depends on when it opened up, because it could have opened up upon their entry.
That's true.
And I don't know how the prequel comic did it. There's a prequel comic about that.
That's right, yeah, because I remember seeing some snippets of that. Someone posted it online. I was like, oh, this is interesting.
And I mean, yeah, those kind of things aren't usually considered canonical, but if that's what they intended and they made a prequel comic about it, then we can be fairly sure that eventually we'll probably see Supergirl in this continuity.
Yeah.
I would imagine. I mean, if they make enough Superman films.
Well, yeah, hopefully, if Batman v Superman turns out okay, then he may encourage them a bit more, which they will do anyway.
No, they will. Again, and I mean, I don't want to talk too much about Batman v Superman here. I still really wish we got a flat-out sequel to this before they were bringing in so much of the Justice League. I think that's... And people know my opinion on this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think it's kind of rushed, and I think that... I mean, even if it's really good, I'm still going to wish that we had gotten to see Superman in his element more before they did something with Batman in it, because... I get the sense from listening to Snyder talk about this movie while they were making it that he was making like a pre-Superman movie. Like, this isn't even really a Superman movie in a lot of ways, right? Like, this is the guy before he's Superman, and then he's got to figure out who that is, and then the very end of the movie, now he's kind of Superman. It's that sort of...
They should have called the film, this one, The Man of Tomorrow, and then number 2 is Man of Steel.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Yeah. Because that would have been a more appropriate title in a lot of ways. But yeah. So I don't know. It's got that kind of reboot cliche thing of like the last 2 minutes. He sort of resembles what we're used to. Lone Ranger had that. Casino Royale had that. Like we do that with reboots now. Perry White. This is one of the best castings of Perry White ever.
Definitely. Oh, he's fantastic.
And I wish he had some screen time, but I love him, and I love him more listening to him talk about it, because Lawrence Fishburne seemed so stoked to get to play this part.
Oh, he was so happy, wasn't he? Because he's a huge fan of the
about
Chris Reeve films, and to be a part of the Superman sort of mythology now and sort of history of it is, we must have been very excited to be part of it. But Perry's very much like you'd expect him to play it. He's supportive, but also very... doesn't like to mess around, and he likes to maintain he's in charge.
He's really genuine. Like, I kind of wish, because I'm afraid he's never going to get as much screen time as we'd love to see him get, just because in a movie, when is Perry White ever going to be a major part of a story? But, like, I wish he could get to play Perry White in, like, a Superman TV show or something.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? I hope he's not sort of pushed aside in number 2. It'd be good to see more of him, and sort of I'm sure there will be. It'd be a crime not to include more.
We should get a scene where he's like, I love Superman. This Batman guy is scary. I don't like him. And,
yeah. Because it could be like where he's more supportive of Superman than Batman, and his ideals on dealing with crime. But now coming up, I love this sort of moment where you're going to see Jor-El, and it sort of shows the history of Krypton and what's happened. But also once the suit is revealed. Did the computer sort of design that before, when he turned up, or was it already there existing, this suit? And it seems a bit like,
why does it have a cape?
Yeah,
None of the other suits had capes?
Why would it have a red cape? Why would it have this color design? Because everyone else is kind of bland and sort of...
I guess Zod has a cape later.
But maybe it's Jor-El's idea to sort of symbolize his version of hope, and it needed to stand out.
When in the culture are you supposed to wear a cape? Is that like a dress uniform?
And his cape is so long, though, isn't it? You trip over it. Everyone will be, if you're walking, people will be standing on your cape. Like, oh, get off my cape. You're going to pull it out my, my suit.
You've got your own red carpet.
Exactly.
Like, when you watch the film, have a red carpet.
Every scene where he's walking with the cape is like filthy, because it's like just dragging along in the mud, and and it should be level to where his boots start. Like,
okay, it's super impractical, but I think it looks super cool.
I do like the cape, but it's still missing the S on the back. It's like, for God's sake, just put it on the back of the cape. It's not that difficult. And their excuse in Superman Returns was like, oh, we can't animate it. It's like, come on, really?
Once again, it's interesting to see how the Kryptonian technology works, that they've gotten so far away from anything digital. All of this is also organic looking.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's really kind of interesting. Like I wondered when I first saw it, like, why when they communicate through those floating pod things, they look like chia pads.
They do,
and And the reason, and why don't they just have a screen? And the reason is because all of their technology is based on organics,
Yeah.
because they've manipulated all of the matter on their own planet, and that's why they blew it up. I love all of that.
Yeah.
That's
This
really,
is a great
and
method
again,
of storytelling as well. This is probably the
yes.
sort of highlights of the film.
Yeah, and it's a cool way to do exposition because, ironically, one of the most interesting scenes and one of the places where I'm, most really with it and like excited to learn something is this big long well, it's not very long, but this big exposition scene.
And it's
You know,
interesting. It's not. It doesn't
like the
feel. It
exposition
doesn't feel
is less
forced or
boring than some of the
redundant, does
action
it?
is. No, it doesn't.
No.
There's also something incredibly Greek sculpture about
It
that.
is. Yeah. Yeah. I like. Yes, it works perfectly. And when you were saying earlier about the sort of design of the Krypton, it's got a sort of matrix thing, and these parts of all the babies and the sort of orbs and things, it does remind me of Matrix, where there's big robots
Yeah.
are feeding off these embryos and stuff like that. And
Well, and that's really cool because the whole idea is that they basically are robots.
yeah, artificially.
That they've
Yeah.
they've been genetically programmed to do whatever whatever they're supposed to do, whatever they're
It's
designed
kind
to
of living
do.
like a sort
And
of communist sort of background. You're
well,
forced. Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. They're not allowed to pursue their own ambitions or anything. And again, that's the whole idea of Superman. That's the whole idea of Kal-El, is that he's going to be presented, and this is one of the ideas I really latch onto, that he's going to be presented with a choice
Yeah.
to either,
Democracy.
yeah, but what I was going to say is to either preserve humanity or preserve Krypton,
Yeah.
and of course try to find a way to bring both of those together, but ultimately that's not quite going to work out. And then, and the whole idea is Jor-El gives him this kind of dictate and says, that's what I want you to do, but he has a choice. So he has a destiny planned out by his father, but it's not preordained the way his destiny was.
No. No.
And that's kind of cool because at first it seems almost contradictory, but it's not, because the idea is he's going to do the right thing because it's the right thing, not because somebody had to program into him what to do.
Sure. Sure.
And so the hope is that people are naturally already built to do the right thing. So it's a nature versus nurture thing, but it's almost a nature versus like man-made nature
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of thing.
I like this moment here when he's sort of, when he's got the suit on, and it
Yeah.
does evoke those sort of images of Alex Ross design of Superman.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm glad you said that. You're absolutely right. But like, we get to see Superman stand out here in the Arctic.
yeah,
You really kind of miss not getting to not getting to see a fortress.
I know, and it's interesting when he sort of begins to learn to fly. It has got that sort of leaps tall buildings in a single bound, where he sort of
Right.
leaps and jumps like in the Fleischer cartoons. But the way in the trailer where you've got Jor-El talking, and it's played out really well, this scene. But when I saw it for the first time in the film, where you got Jor-El's dialogue and Superman doing stuff, it doesn't work as well. You know what I mean?
No.
How the dialogue's intercut with the footage. This scene works better in a trailer, but I do like seeing these scenes. But one big gripe with this film is the flying scenes are too quick, and there's no good medium shots of him. He's shooting past camera at lightning speed, and it was like Superman Returns again, where you've got Superman whizzing past, and you can barely see him. But this film does make little more efforts to see Superman in medium shots or close-ups. But a lot of the time, when he starts learning how to fly, and he's flying around the sort of the rocky terrain, you can barely see him. It's like there's still no great sense of seeing someone fly on screen. And when you watch Christopher Reeve, say Superman 3, and he turns from evil to good, and you see him fly across the ocean, that's a moment you want to see Superman fly.
Well, and even Supergirl at least attempted
Oh yeah,
it.
Supergirl's got those great moments of flying. But this again, it's just way too quick. And Zack Snyder was like, "Oh, I'm not doing things on wires. It's too, it doesn't look right." And I was like, what? "Well, I want to see Superman fly gracefully, take off and land, even though it's not that as quick as you would do in a digital shot where you can shoot off like really quick. But it takes away some of the fun because you want to see Superman fly and you want to, you know, be engrossed in those scenes. But like now, he's building
Well,
up his first time he's going to fly properly, and he's just going to whiz past camera, and it feels it's like trailer fodder. It doesn't it work in a trailer, but not in a film.
let's talk about visual effects, because one of the things that it really gets right over Superman Returns, of course, is that the CG is all very well integrated.
Yes, it is very well done.
It at least looks really good. Now I'm with you. I don't like a lot of some of the choices that they made, but it at least all looks as real as you would expect it to. I mean, there's places where I can kind of go, okay, that's probably CG, but it looks like they're trying to make it look real. It's not lazy. They don't do that Superman Returns thing where his face comes right up to the camera
really
and it looks like a PS2 scene.
It is,
But the other thing is, there's a lot of stuff in this that I thought was real that is computer generated, and I'm always incredibly impressed when that happens.
Sure.
Wow, I did not know until I looked at special features that Michael Shannon is wearing a motion capture suit through this whole movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. It looks great.
I know. But this shot here, we flies over the earth. That's a great shot. Whoosh. You know, that's really cool to see. But Superman Returns had the main problem. It had Sony ImageWorks doing the visual effects, and their output of work is extremely inconsistent. And I think Man of Steel has a far better effects team. I think maybe Weta designed some, and Cine Sight and Moving Picture Company, and there's a larger, array of effects companies on this production. Pretty more talented people. But it's also Bryan Singer's choice in Superman Returns to choose those moments where Superman's, a close-up of him in CG. Never do that. Shoot it in live action. It saves you so much more money.
I know, it's crazy. Well, it also just looks really bad.
I know. It's
but I like that Lois, in her article that she's trying to write, calls Superman a ghost that never fit in.
Yes, that's a good line. Yes, I like
that's a really good line, and I have to point out the good lines because one of the places this movie is really lacking in is decent dialogue. It's not, a lot of it's not great. The performances are fine, but there's a lot of really bland dialogue, and there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of cringeworthy.
No, Jonathan Kent died in '97. He must have saw
97.
He must have saw Batman and Robin or something.
Oh man, I hope not. I hope that was November. No. I hope that was like April of that year.
He died when the idea of Superman Lives died out as well.
Do you agree with me that this is not a super impressive dialogue movie?
No, it's not. I mean, the dialogue with Jor-El I like, and the stuff with Zod I like as well. I mean, Michael Shannon kind of, excels dialogue by how he's delivered it. But a lot of it's kind of a little bit redundant and a little bit forgettable. It doesn't have enough punch to it.
Well, I also don't think there's enough. Because one of the huge things that this movie has in common with Superman Returns is monosyllabic Superman. He just doesn't talk enough in general.
I know. It's like, cheer up, man. You're Superman.
Well, not just that, but
But yeah, it's very very small bits of dialogue he's delivering. But it kind of plays up the old classic Superman, where he just come in and say a few things and shoot off. He doesn't have.
But here's the thing when I say Superman, I just mean the character. Okay, Kal-El, Clark, whoever he is in a scene, he doesn't get to talk enough. I mean, he talks more when he's a kid, and giving us ideas of how he's feeling, just because that's the kind of classic, I should probably say stereotypical kind of, teenager thing of I'm whining. And that's like the most we get to actually understand of how he feels about things. Like, he doesn't. I just feel distance from him too much.
Well, yeah. Do you think Superman's quite a hard character to write for in terms of what he?
Oh yes, absolutely he is. Sure.
I'm sure. I think Mark Rosenthal, who wrote Superman 4, I think he said it is difficult to write dialogue for Superman, not have it come across as cheesy or sort of
your classic Superman, and this is kind of the big argument that I think other people have said this, but this is the thing I agree with. And we should talk about the scene. But Superman, tells you everything you need to know through his actions.
Yeah.
So the Superman you're talking about that doesn't talk very much doesn't have to, because how he feels about stuff through what he does.
Sure.
I don't know that we have enough of that with this movie. Through the calling back to the point you made earlier, that we don't get to see him really fly around saving enough people and stuff.
No. Oh, wait, was it with this powerful scene coming up? The death of Jonathan Kent. It's executed okay. I mean, it's everyone probably choked a little bit when Jonathan dies, and Henry Cavill's reaction is really good, for an actor. You can see the emotion in, but I don't know, the moment they chose to kill off Jonathan, it just it wasn't as effective for me. I mean,
no, me neither. It's really contrived. The problem is I don't buy the situation. I mean, there's two big problems with it. Like I'm okay with and it took me a while to get okay with this, but the more I've watched it, Jonathan Kent here goes back for the dog. Okay, that's a little cheesy, I guess. I don't know if cheesy is the right word, but it's just sort of it.
It's I don't not. Know. It seems a little bit cliched in a way.
It's a little cliche, yeah, and I didn't want to keep throwing that word around, but I guess that's what it is. But anyway, so he goes back for the dog. He won't let Clark come get him because, yeah, if he ran over there, everybody would know he has powers. I guess I can kind of buy that. What doesn't work about it is, first of all, that tornado forms way too fast. Tornadoes don't form
well,
like
yeah,
that.
where you live, there's tornadoes in there, so.
They would have seen it. They would have seen that coming. The tornadoes don't form that fast. But the second thing is, they're having the most important conversation of his life seconds before that happens.
Yeah.
It's way too thrown together.
Yeah. I mean, in the Christopher Reeve one, he dies because he makes his father run. He gives him a heart attack, and his father chose to run to sort of play around and stuff, and it's not Clark's fault, but it's his father's fault.
Well, and that's how he's learning. And I will say that both movies are trying to do the same thing there in a way, that both of them are kind of showing you what Clark's mortality is.
Yeah,
because people always complain
it does that such a small scene, but it does everything so well. I mean, it shows the storytelling skills of one director to the other. I mean, Donner clearly is a better storyteller than Zack Snyder. I mean, Zack Snyder's background is kind of advertising, I presume. Made on music videos, I'm not sure. But there isn't many examples of his work that shows he's a very good storyteller, or, how to get the best performances from his actors to a certain degree. But I mean, in terms of Watchmen, there's a lot of great dialogue, but it's kind of delivered in a way similar to this in a certain degree. But you wouldn't class a lot of these films as masterpieces. It's.
Well, here's the thing about Watchmen. Snyder, in my opinion, and not everybody agrees with this,
sure.
But in my opinion, Snyder is good at adapting something straight from a page.
Yes, I give you that. He's a good visualist.
And think about it. If the man has a background in advertising, what he's doing is somebody is handing him a script and telling him to sell a product from that script.
Sure.
What Snyder is not so good at doing, and this is what studios are failing to realize because this studio, because they're saying, oh, you've done 2 comic book movies. You know how to make comic book movies. No, he knows how to look at a storyboard and put it on film. And I'm not saying that's an easy thing to do, but I'm saying that he's not a storyteller as much as he is an adapter.
Yeah. And
and here's the thing: there is storytelling in adaptation. Certainly, but he's got a crutch there, right?
But when you get Zack Snyder writing his own stuff, you get Sucker Punch.
And that didn't work for me. When you're talking about like Watchmen has good dialogue, 85 to 90% of it was lifted from Moore's original material.
There you go. It's
and that's why it worked. but I don't know. So that's what I'm saying. So I mean, like, I was surprised that he did as good of a job here as he did. I think that over time he might become a much better storyteller.
I hope so. I really do.
But I think that we're seeing some growing pains.
That's kind of things where a lot of directors, they don't, come into their element till, maybe into their 50s. It's there's a lot of, success or like failure throughout their career till they really hit their stride. And Richard Donner didn't do Superman the movie till in his 40s. So, I mean, Christopher Nolan, he got, successful at quite a young age, doing Memento, sorry. But yeah, Zack Snyder's, he's kind of like similar background to Ridley Scott. I mean, you could argue Ridley Scott's not very good storyteller. He's a very strong visualist, but, it depends how you look at it. I mean, some of his films are better story-driven than some of his earlier stuff, but his earlier stuff seems to be the stuff people prefer.
Yeah, what I don't think Snyder is real great at is communicating ideas from a page to screen. So if you're going to have as minimalistic dialogue, at least for a superhero film, as you have in this movie, you've got to convey more of that emotion on screen, and I don't think Snyder's doing that.
No, those subtle moments as a director where you sort of take your time with the shot, or you sort of give that scene more time to breathe, as we were saying earlier about other scenes. Sometimes there isn't enough of that in some of these key elements, and
yeah, and also the biggest complaint that this movie gets, and of course we'll talk about it as soon as we have ample opportunity when things start blowing up, is collateral damage, and I don't think any of that was in the script.
I don't know. I mean, have you? Has anyone come forward to you and said, "Oh, I've read the script. None of that's in the film"?
Well, no, and I'm not saying that based on anything. I'm just saying that seems like a very Zack Snyder kind of thing. So, yeah, I could be wrong about it. I don't know. All I'm saying is I really doubt, and it could be, but I really doubt, because a lot of the time things like that are left very open in a script for director's interpretation. I really doubt that the script is like, okay, Superman's going to throw this guy into this building and it's going to blow up. Like...
Sure. The script made to be like, Zod, Superman, have a fight in the Metropolis.
They have a brawl, and then these certain things need to happen during the scene. But so obviously I don't know for sure. I'm not going to pretend like I know something I don't know. But all I'm saying is a lot of that seems like a weird interpretation of a script that didn't mean for an audience to look at this movie, and I don't know how much of this is really warranted, but a lot of people feel this way. That didn't mean for people to look at this movie and go, holy crap, Superman doesn't care about people in this movie.
Well, that's as I was saying earlier about, it doesn't really have many scenes of Superman doing Superman things to a certain degree, with saving people, or he just seems to be, his only goal is to try and stop Zod, which is fine, but
all you need is a
couple of scenes of him doing stuff like saving people, saving a cat from a tree.
Well, what I think you need more of is a couple of really good explanations for why he's not trying to direct the fight away from big urban centers.
Sure.
And you can make the argument.
Zack Snyder could have saved himself from a lot of criticism if he had one or two scenes thrown in to explain that, or just to sort of just expand a little bit more of these ideas, or what's going on in terms of the action.
Yeah. Because I don't think, again, I think it's all a miscommunication issue. I don't think Snyder meant for Superman to be accidentally the cause of the death of a bunch of people, and I also don't know that that's even really happening. We just don't know.
Yeah.
And so it's a thing that is being maybe kind of blown out of proportion, but understandably, because he's not, just as you said, giving us a couple of simple lines that would have solved that problem. Yeah. There are a lot of things that you can't solve with just a line or two of dialogue. I make that argument a lot, and people will be like, oh no, you can't do that, you have to flesh it out. But that's a thing where, again, if Superman were communicating more to the audience,
you'd
be like, oh man, I'm trying. I'm not saying he should say these things out loud, but we need, or at least to himself or whatever.
Sure.
It doesn't need to be like Spider-Man monologue. Spider-Man, quit monologuing. But I do feel like we need something where Superman somehow conveys to the audience that he'd love to grab Zod and Fedora and fly them out away from there, and he can't.
Well, yeah, you could just have one scene of him saying, "I've got to divert this destruction. I've got to take him somewhere else. I've got to take him, into space and do this." This whole communication scene.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anything yet? But this whole scene where it's sort of the build up to it, when the signal goes through to the TV in Clark's house. It's really creepy in the cinema when I first heard that. How the sound is designed. It's I love this communication sequence. I think it's really played out really well. But beforehand, where you had the shots inside the military base, there's not many wide shots of exteriors to establish a scene. You're just going straight into an office block or straight into a room, and you're like, okay, you know where you are, but it kind of doesn't really make the film. It makes the film feel like it's been shot in like a cardboard box. It feels quite small, and giving.
You're saying it's lacking in sense of scope.
It does in some scenes, and it's there was no establishing shot for the Daily Planet. You just cut to inside an office, so it's very hard to determine where the Daily Planet is within this city.
Yeah, geography is kind of hard. No, when I first saw that, I was like, oh man, it's The Ring. All over again.
Yeah.
But you're right. That is super creepy. It's kind of neat, and I don't know if this is. I could be stretching. I don't know if they did this on purpose, but I wonder if the reason that Zod doesn't have a clearer image, just besides the fact that it's super creepy, is again because all of their technology is biological, and so it doesn't connect up right.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah.
Lawrence Fishburne based his performance on this on the CBS correspondent Ed Bradley.
Oh, really?
And if you go look at pictures of Ed Bradley, who was one of the early television African American reporters, and if you go look at pictures of him, he looks just like what Fishburne is doing. Yeah, looks just like him.
Awesome. But then next moment you cut to a shot of Lois running down this this side street, all close-ups, and it's kind of, I don't know, the way it's edited and the way it's, I was saying earlier about the geography, it's a bit all over the place and doesn't really give the audience a sense of where they are a lot of the time.
Yeah, the argument is always you're supposed to like be with that character,
sure.
and feel like you're there. But the problem is, I don't get if I were her, I would be seeing everything in front of my field of vision, not my hair in the camera. I'm not saying that it should be done first person, and Snyder famously hates first person POV for some reason. And I don't know why, but he hates it. Here's a reference. So this place is called Sullivan's.
Okay.
And that's Chloe Sullivan from Smallville.
Oh.
And importantly, Chloe Sullivan was made up for that show. She was not a comic book character, so that is a direct Smallville reference.
Oh,
and also, the letter jackets they're wearing are Smallville Letterman's jackets.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, yeah, Sullivan's. Oh, yeah. This scene, I mean, it seems kind of a little bit redundant to me. It doesn't. Well, if I was the editor, I'd probably trim it. It probably doesn't need to be there. But did you ever, some people ask me about the sort of religious aspect where he's now in the church and debating about what to do.
Yeah.
Did you feel that scene was needed? I mean, it's it seems just thrown in to sort of give you that aspect that Superman is kind of a god. And it's got that religious aspect in it, but I mean,
here's the thing: if they weren't already being so heavy-handed with the Jesus stuff, and I mean, we could make a list. I think there's 7 or 8 of them. If they weren't being so heavy-handed with that allegory and symbolism, that scene works a little bit in a thematic sense, because we do have a little bit of like a hope versus science, or like a faith versus science thing going on. But it's a weird thing too, because it's like you've got that movie thing of you have a preacher who's saying you need to take a leap of faith, but we don't want to offend the religious people in the audience. So is he talking about faith in God, or what is he talking about?
Well, I think Superman at this point should really know, or Kal-El should really know what he's made up his mind already. I mean, he's already been spoken to his father. He's giving him enough information to feel confident about who he is.
That's a good point.
And he's still unsure. He has to go speak to someone who doesn't really give him, a solid enough answer. It's just a quick little bit of, information or sort of.
Well, here's what I think it's doing symbolically, and again, it's really heavy-handed. So we've got just the most like obvious thing ever. With the Jesus in the stained glass, did we have the red cake? Did we have to do that? Well, here's the thing. I think and I just thought of this. I think what it thinks it's doing is it's saying, you've got that thing with Jesus when he is crucified of, my God, why have you forsaken me?
Yeah.
And he's got kind of. I don't know that Jesus hesitates so much as just like, depending on how you look at it, so much as just says, man, it sure sucks that I have to go get crucified, but I'm gonna do that for my people. And I think that's maybe what that's supposed to be.
Right. Okay.
Where it's like Superman, he's about to go put himself on the slab, and he's a little conflicted about it. And of course, he ultimately doesn't have to sacrifice himself, but he does walk in and give himself to Zod for a second.
Yeah.
So, like, part of the reason all of the Jesus allegory is really irritating, of course, is because it doesn't really culminate into anything. Like, okay, he's the savior of the world because he stops the world machine thing. But like, it doesn't go to the full extent of him getting, him really having a sacrifice.
No.
So all of this would maybe work. It's still heavy-handed. All this would work a little bit better if it was like the first in a trilogy where like the second one he gets killed by Doomsday.
You never know, could do.
And
You
I'm
never
only
know.
and I'm only saying that because that's what I want. But because I think this is a way better movie if in, I mean, Superman Batman's whatever, but if in the second solo Superman movie he gets killed by Doomsday, this is instantly a better film.
If Superman gets killed off for the next sequel or one after that, I'm like, come on, give Superman some respect. He's not a complete wimp, It's but in terms of religious aspect, I mean, I'm
comes back to life because you have to if you're going to do the Jesus allegory, he also has to be resurrected.
Sure.
So that's the third one. That's a really good Superman trilogy.
I mean, I'm not religious.
He shows up and he shows up and he's got and he's starting to build his followers and people are starting to believe in him. And then he gets but then there's a bunch of naysayers. And then he gets killed by Doomsday, and then he gets resurrected in the third one.
I mean, I'm not religious in any form, any way. But I never have a problem with them throwing in religious allegory about the connection between Superman and sort of Jesus Christ. But in this film, it just feels a little bit, I don't know, kind of redundant to a certain degree. It doesn't need to be there. It wouldn't affect the film at all. No. It would probably just change some of its ideals and Superman's Jor-El's ideas for hope and what Superman stands for, but they could easily be done without having to reference any sort of religious aspect.
Yeah, I think it's a little self-indulgent.
Yeah, well, a bit like Samaritans.
Like look how important movies about saviors have Jesus allegory in them. I mean, The Matrix does it too, but a little more subtly than that. Okay, not by the third one. Not by the third one.
Were you at all? Sorry, were you? With his hair? Does he? Why do you think? Why they don't have the Superman sort of curl anymore in his hair?
Cause we gotta be different.
We gotta be cute,
Oliver. Cause it's different. Early on in the film, when he's got the Jesus beard, that's one of the things on the list of Jesus things, by the way.
We should have a massive beard that goes down to.
He's on the boat. Yeah, Henry Cavill, by the way, really needs to play Jesus because he would make a great Jesus. But anyway, so when he's got that longer hair in the back, I really found myself going, oh man, I hope in one of these movies he's got the whole 90s Superman long hair thing going on because he would really pull it off.
Oh god, I went bonkers as a kid. I hated Superman with long hair. I was like, no.
Yeah, like it or hate it though, you know that Cavill would look good in it if you did it.
God.
No, I'm just saying, you might not like it, but if anybody could pull that off, Cavill could pull that off.
See, there's moments in the film where, in terms of, we mentioned about the colour earlier, where Superman's suit, for example, would look very sort of dark and, all you can see is the cape, really, sort of, that stands out. And then there's some scenes where it comes to the fight in Smallville where he's walking down the street and you can see all the yellow on his S. And it's very inconsistent with his suit, even though the lighting is very similar at that point. It's like a daytime shot. And in one scene he'll look nice and colourful, and in others he'll look really bland and, just a generic Superman suit. Which I'm just, why can't they just have Superman look colourful? I don't think it's the idea that people don't, it may look campy, but all the Marvel films, Captain America, Spider-Man, they're all colourful. There's no shying away from their designs. They seem to be shying away from what makes Superman's suit look very cool and makes him unique. But they're still going with that idea of making everything sort of look subdued and sort of dark, and I think that's the wrong approach for Superman.
Okay, I've got two lines about the color palette.
Sure.
Now we're in color palette territory. Here we go. The first thing is, if I was sure that they did this on purpose for a thematic reason, I like the color palette.
Okay.
But I'm not sure is the problem. The color palette seems to be, when you look at the ideas of the film, representative of the fact that the Earth is kind of hopeless and on its way eventually toward where Krypton went, and Superman has to show them the way, so you have to show it in that bleaker color palette because it's not there yet. Because the Earth is this really cynical place right now, and Superman's going to show up and show it the way. Having said that, Superman himself doesn't need to necessarily look like that.
No,
Although
he's a symbol of
maybe,
hope. You should bring,
yeah, he's a symbol of hope. Although maybe the notion is supposed to be that he's not quite sure about himself yet, and so he has to get there. But then you get to the end, and I don't know that the stuff in the Daily Planet is really any more like, you know,
if you look at Superman's suit,
less bland.
You know when Superman was standing next to Lois, she had the thing put on her head. You could see the yellow in his S. I mean, earlier on you couldn't even see it, but that was outside.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, what's going on? But when they've landed on the ship and you see the interior, I mean, when I first saw it, this reminded me that it was designed. It looked like very reminiscent design of H.R. Giger. If you see in the backgrounds, the sort of the look of it, it looks like it's jumped straight out of one of his art books.
Oh, okay.
And I think they may have. Well, someone had wrote an article about the design, and it was obviously not someone involved in the film, but sort of someone observing what they'd seen and brought up, the same point about the Giger design. And I quite like that idea. It's sort of the alien world is more Giger-esque. It seems more threatening as well.
But what I'm saying is I think the color palette sort of works as long as the next solo Superman film doesn't look like that. And but I mean, hear me out, because it's not just a solo film, it's the beginning of a series.
Yeah.
And Amazing Spider-Man did the same thing.
That's true. It's the first one, was quite more,
And Amazing Spider-Man has a much more muted color palette, and it's darker, and you've got a Spider-Man who becomes Spider-Man initially for revenge.
Yeah.
And then eventually he figures out the responsibility thing, and he becomes more the Spider-Man we all know. But in that movie, would have liked them to have gotten brighter by the end of the movie. But at least by the sequel, it doesn't look like that anymore.
The sequel, despite I didn't particularly think much of the sequel, but the color design, the photography was stunning. And
so I'm just saying that I think they might be doing something with that, but I'm not sure. I freaked out in the theater in this scene that Clark is wearing a Royal shirt. That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
I live in Kansas City, and it's really cool to see actual Kansas stuff in a Superman movie. One of my complaints about Smallville was always that nobody from Vancouver seemed to have ever been in the Midwest. It's kind of funny that so much of this movie is also shot in Vancouver.
It's also very funny as well, because Zod's reaction to seeing Krypton destroyed. They've only been in the Phantom Zone for 10 minutes. That was quick. That was great. Oh, I got out of prison.
That's a really good point you're making. Oh, the idea of the Phantom Zone as a propulsion device is inspired.
I do like that idea, but I did think the idea of how they formed the dimensions for the Phantom Zone was a little bit overly designed and a little bit sort of, the idea of putting them in this ginormous contraption and putting them into this giant prison in space, you'd think they're probably just okay, well, we're just going to execute them because they're a pain, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a really good point. But you could say that about a lot of other iterations of Superman.
That's true, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not like...
But at least it had a good... Well, the good thing about it was actually a prison. It wasn't like in Supergirl where you've got this barrenest wasteland, or there was no explanation in the original film where you're just trapped in this sort of, this square.
Yeah, I mean, I still prefer the version, and again, this is in the Last Days of Krypton book, which I think is the definitive, my definitive version, where when you go into the Phantom Zone, your spirit is, your consciousness is removed from your body, and you simply can't, you simply exist, but can't do anything.
That's a good idea, I like that.
I love that version.
Yeah. But they could have dabbled with that in this one, made it more of a threatening sort of prison, you want them to be terrified of the Phantom Zone, like in the first one they are just shocked, aren't they, in the 78 film.
So a lot more of this scene is shot on green screen than you would expect.
Yes, and it's lit very well, so there isn't you're not given, it doesn't look too obvious. There is a great depth to it, so it does look 3D in a way. I like that. I like seeing Zod in a Superman suit. That's pretty cool.
Oh, it's awesome. And I really like the way that he's demonstrating what happened to Krypton and what he thinks. And just the black Superman suit.
Yeah.
I know people don't like it because they already think that this movie is too dark for a Superman movie, and that he's not really enough of the symbol of hope that they're talking about.
Sure.
But just getting to see it, you know me, I'm such a big Death of Superman fan that just getting to see Superman in a really good-looking black suit
but
is
this is,
pretty...
I like to see because it's a nightmare scene for Superman.
Yeah. And what I was going to say about it is, I like that Zod is the really, awful, creepy, nightmare way that Zod is trying to demonstrate Superman's what he thinks is his responsibility to Krypton.
Yes.
By virtue of being the last of them and having the codex somewhere.
I mean, it's the great thing about Zod in this film where he's he doesn't see himself as the bad guy, and that's that's his mission is it's to support his race, his people. It's all about his people, and that's what all makes great villains, and they don't realize they're the bad guy.
Also, what's really cool about it for me is that he and Jor-El are exactly the same.
There is, yeah. This is slightly different ideals, and
but their ideals are programmed into them. That's what's so interesting about it. So what they're doing with that is each of them is, and you can look at it in a couple ways. And this is what I love about it. Are they interpreting their biological programming, or are they doing what they are programmed to do? There's the distinction. How much free will do they really have? I don't think anybody knows. And so Zod has this ends justifies the means thing. I'm going to kill everyone I have to, even my friends. And he's got a heart.
I think he kind of sticks to the rules where Jor-El is kind of broken away from that, and he's
but what's weird is but neither of them completely stick to the rules, because he thinks that his programming, even what he's supposed to do, what he was born to do, overrides even the council.
That's a good point. Yes.
But so does Jor-El.
Well, maybe he's just gone mad then, isn't he? You could say he's just insane. He's gone beyond that, and he's.
But again, is it insanity, or was he built that way, and that's an illustration of why Krypton was doomed?
Yes, good point. Yeah.
I get a lot of thought to this because
that's good. That's a good question you raised. I never thought about that.
Cool. Yeah, it's really interesting. And that's the stuff where I have to give this movie big props. The ideas are so fascinating, but the problem is
they're not translated that well to a certain degree. It doesn't let the audience think that you've thought that yourself.
And I don't
come to the conclusion, but it's not a definitive answer though. I
will say that I think that all of that stuff is inherently there, and that it lets you make your mind up about it. So I mean, I don't think I'm reaching about the fact that they are programmed people. They tell us that.
Sure.
And that
your theory is more interesting than the one they get film, but because you've come up with a more creative idea that may be in the film, but it's got to say
Yeah, you're right. It's not. Yeah, it's not.
But also, that kind of sometimes makes an enjoyable film where people get to discuss the film afterwards and expand upon it more, and gets them to revisit it, and makes people talk about it later on. That's what makes a sort of film stand the test of time.
There is a part, and I don't remember exactly where it is, so I'll mention it here since we're talking about this. There's a place, either it's happened or it's coming up, where Zod tells Clark, I killed, or tells someone, no, maybe even tells Lois, I killed Jor-El, and I'm haunted by it, but I will do it again.
I love that.
But here's why it's so great, or at least this is why I think it's so great. It's foreshadowing.
Yeah. That's right.
Then later on, he does do it again, and he's got this awesome look on his face where he's mortified that he has to kill Jor-El a second time.
Yeah. Very good scene. I like this. I like that moment earlier where Jor-El's telling Lois where to shoot. It's like a video game. It's like top left, top right. Throw a grenade.
One of the cool things about all of this Midwest stuff in Smallville is that they did their homework. It really does look like a small town.
What were you saying, didn't you? It was very much. I mean, were you at all not disappointed, but sort of kind of like, there's too much product placement. That was kind of many people's complaints. I mean, I think it's kind of a superficial complaint, really.
I cry foul on that because it didn't feel like product placement. It felt like a real town.
Exactly. If you go in any town, in any city, it's...
Yeah, you can't go to a town without being inundated with people's logos.
Yeah. Because there's Starbucks everywhere. There's McDonald's everywhere. You cannot escape it.
It's not Fantastic Four, where you feel like you can't, or like the first Spider-Man movie, where you can't get through it without feeling like you're supposed to leave buying a Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
the thing about that, the thing about all the air quote product placement, well, it is product placement. I'm sure they paid for that placement, but they paid to see their buildings blow up. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't feel like product placement to me because we're destroying all that stuff. Like, maybe that's a bad argument, but I'm just saying, like, it's not like, look how great Sears is or look how great IHOP is. They're there to be blown up.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, the Sears thing is kind of sad.
I know.
Because, isn't that weird? Because it's kind of product placement for Sears, and I didn't notice this until the third time I saw it, but if you look really closely, Martha Kent works there.
That's true, yes.
She has a Sears lanyard and a shirt on, and she's barely supporting herself and getting by years after the death of her husband by working at Sears. That's really sad.
Yeah.
And very modern.
That's right. Yeah, she's having to cope to pay the bills herself, you know.
So my point is it product placement or is it more effective because it's a place you've heard of?
I think it's more effective if it's a place you've heard of. It grounds it in reality.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why
at least it doesn't have like the Marlboro sign everywhere, like in number 2, where you go flying into cigarette vehicles. And,
oh no, that was product placement, and the Coke thing. Yeah. And I know they.
It's after we like. I fancy a small kind of can of Coke.
But it was done. Yeah, and yes, that was all destruction as well. But it was done in a tongue-in-cheek way. That was all blow up. That was all stuff blowing up that it was fun to watch. This is done in a more somber tone kind of way.
Yeah. It's also interesting that Diane Lane was also in another Superman-related movie with Hollywoodland.
Yeah.
You seen that film?
And her last name is Lane. No, I've never seen that.
Oh, you've got to see it. It's fantastic.
Okay, I will watch that.
Such a good film. Oh, a bit of wire work. Bloody hell.
I know, and when they do it, it looks fine, so they should do it more.
Exactly. You should take off on wires.
Looks really good. Wire work. We have perfected wire work. I mean, like.
But then later on, you've got him doing this sort of takeoff thing, like he does in Lois and Clark, which just jumps off camera. You know what I mean? Of like you see Superman sort of essentially just fart and go woof into the atmosphere. You know. But you know, starting off now, I mean, Superman could have easily avoided throwing Zod into that giant. What is it? What does he go smashing into in a minute?
He's going to smash him into a 7-Eleven, I think.
Well, before then, there's like a giant container.
Oh, it's a silo. There's a giant
silo. He could have avoided that.
With explosive materials in it. What is in that silo? It's not grain.
There's a methane.
What is it? No, that's absolutely hilarious. So I think it's really cool that not only is Kevin Costner, I know he's dead right now, but not only is Kevin Costner in another movie where he's playing a farmer. I mean, he is the quintessential pick for right now for Jonathan Kent. Yeah, there's no better pick than Kevin Costner for Jonathan Kent. But also, he's got a bunch of corn in his field.
And both his parents are played by Robin Hood as well, you know.
Yes, both of his parents are played by Robin Hood. That's a really good... But, you know, I made the mistake of asking that as a trivia question in a video. I was like, which actor played both Robin Hood and Jonathan Kent? And everybody was like, well, played both Robin Hood and Superman's dad. I worded it that way. I didn't think about Kevin Costner, and then everybody was... Or I didn't think about... I thought about Kevin Costner. I didn't think about Russell Crowe. And everybody was like, well, both of the dads in that movie. And I was like, oh, man, that's hilarious. I totally messed that up.
I love that shot there when he's punching Zod as he's flying across the ground. Superman's suit looks fantastic. And then, you know, the next shot it'll be muted again. You know, it's...
But you think you can threaten my mother? That's the line?
Yeah,
that's
what I know.
All right.
I do like the idea, though, that, you know, once he becomes exposed to the Earth's atmosphere, he begins to sort of develop the powers, and he can't deal with them. You know, he gets a sort of, you know, it's like he's getting a migraine. He's like struggling to see, and everything's all X-ray vision mode. I like that idea. I like
that too, because there's a lot of stuff where Kryptonians show up to Earth for the first time, and they immediately know how to use their powers. But it still doesn't take as long as it ought to.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm only saying that because they make a big deal out of it. If they hadn't had Superman be like, I spent my whole childhood figuring out how to use my powers,
Yeah, I suppose because he's an if you're an adult, things may kick in a lot quicker.
Maybe so. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, that's probably it. That's probably it. I'd probably guess it would be that.
You know, some people. I want to say something about the suit because you talk a lot about the suit, and I haven't said much about it.
Sure.
Something about the Superman suit. A lot of people say, does every superhero suit have to have a bunch of texture on it now? And I like the texture here. I didn't care for it until, or I didn't really care about it. I didn't think about it until I saw behind the scenes stuff and realized it's chainmail.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of neat because it gives a lot more credence to the idea of it being a suit that came from a warrior culture.
Sure. Well, it's a Superman essentially his body armor.
And of course, he doesn't need body armor, but at least it's not like metal,
no.
You know, like 52. It's way better than what they decided.
52. I don't like that suit. It's overly designed. It's like.
Okay, so every time Superman just barely makes a big deal out of people's safety, it's really, really important. We have to consider them huge moments.
Yeah, go inside and lock your door.
So he just said, go inside. Oh, good job, Superman. You stand for truth, justice, and the American way. Superman in this movie stands more for protection than he does anything else.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's. I mean, he just seemed to, as the film's trying to play out, that he's very inexperienced with these things. He's completely unaware of what's going to go on.
And he hasn't built his ideology yet. I think a
lot
of people
maybe. No, but I think, as we were saying earlier, at his age, he's over 30 now, or 30 years old. He should have a better idea of who he is and what responsibilities are. I mean, most adults should have that, locked down to a certain degree.
I'm going to disagree with you to a degree on that, and I guess we've been arguing about this the whole movie, but it's fun. I like that. The only reason I'm saying I disagree with that is because I feel like he has a bit of he's a bit of a different case.
Yeah.
And again, he's got the shadow of his father over him. He can't decide what he's supposed to do with himself. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's still got Jonathan's ideals behind him.
I kind of understand. It's like it's almost as if he's standing around waiting for that big inciting incident that's going to allow him to finally, go out in front of everybody and be Superman. But I mean, you're right. It's frustrating because you want a more proactive Superman.
Sure.
But I'm just saying that I feel like the movie at least thinks it's making a good case for that.
Oh, I love this whole fight scene coming up in IHOP, though.
Well, I was very excited to see it.
It's so quick, though. I love the way she moves. It's the best.
It's great.
It's one of the best examples of seeing someone move at top speed, like the Flash, and how they would fight. Look at that. That's fantastic. I mean, that's great that they've come up with their own martial arts techniques for the Kryptonians, and Superman's far more barbaric. He's just all about punching as much as he can, and he doesn't really have much of a style going on, which is good. Well, Superman shouldn't be doing high flying kicks and stuff like that. He'd just be standard like boxing.
And he doesn't know his top speed yet. Like, I don't think he realizes he can move that fast yet.
I love this moment it's also what he had when he smacks into the vault. The photography there is fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool. There's a reason they used all that for promotional material.
Of course.
Although I think we all expected that to be a really big, major, important scene.
I know it was
seconds in the middle of a fight.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
I was expecting Superman's broken into some vault to find someone. You know what I mean? Like when I first saw it, you always have crazy ideas in your head. It's nothing like what you'd expect. But people have complained about this scene being over the top and too much damage. But I can't deny that I'm really enjoying this scene. I do like this whole.
Yeah, I think it's fun to watch too.
If the ending wasn't so mental and over the top, I don't think people would have much of a problem with this whole scene because you've got to see Superman, three people with the same abilities and strength taking each other on, and there's going to be a lot of damage.
I think it makes a little bit more sense whether you want this or not. As soon as you look at it for what it is, it's a disaster film.
It is, yes. I love his heat vision. That's fantastic.
And it's a disaster film that's setting up Superman to eventually become what we all know and love him for, and that's what people didn't want another origin film. I didn't want another origin film.
No, I wasn't really screaming out for one because there's a Smallville, and Superman the movies kind of did it so well, and I think that's why Bryan Singer didn't want to do one.
We did 10 years of Superman origin. And then we're going to do a whole movie that doesn't even get Clark in the Daily Planet until the last 2 minutes.
Oh my God, Superman's going to say someone. Bloody hell.
Whoa, hang on, this is important. See, look, Oliver. That's escalation. We started with get your homes.
Yeah.
And there's two handles of these helicopter people I want to mention. One of them is called Jayhawk,
Mm-hmm.
and we're in Smallville, Kansas, and Smallville has got to be somewhere pretty close to Lawrence to KU, where I went to school, and KU is the Jayhawks.
Oh,
So that's
another
important.
little reference to throw it in. That's really
That's a nice little reference. The other one is Guardian. The main general guy who's, or whatever his rank is, who we see flying helicopters and stuff all the way through this, who's in command of all the military, is called Guardian. And I don't know if that's supposed to be a direct reference to the Cadmus Guardian from Death of Superman or not.
okay.
But he's a major character through all of that, and there's a lot of '90s stuff in this because we've got both him and we've got Emil Hamilton, and they're both working.
From Star Labs, isn't it?
So yeah, so I can't help but wonder if they didn't, if they're not at least doing kind of a nice nod to
I think
that.
it's a slight nod because a lot of people don't really know who he is unless you're a fan. But it would be nice to say, oh, I'm from Star Labs. I'm so and so. To give the film a little bit more. To expand upon the world. There's more references to the cartoon or the comic books.
There's and I guess we'll get to it later, but there's a huge thing this movie does that I hated, and that I'm pretty sure that Emil Hamilton dies in that explosion.
Yeah, he does. Yes, he goes. Well, he gets sent to the Phantom Zone, doesn't he?
And I think, yeah, and well, if he didn't actually die and he got sent to the Phantom Zone, they could maybe do something with that later. But I didn't think of that. But if he's dead, that's a big missed opportunity.
It is. And but isn't he? Isn't it Hank Henshaw? Isn't it his character or someone else?
No.
Okay, sorry. No, I got confused because Hank Henshaw comes back as like isn't he like the cyborg Superman at one point?
Yes. Okay. So Hank Henshaw was always a villain.
Okay, right.
And he's a villain first, and then and then there's an accident in a fight with Superman that eventually he becomes Cyborg Superman. But no, Emil Hamilton is through, I want to say, like mid-late '80s into the '90s.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he existed before that. I'm not sure. He's like Superman's scientist pal that helps him figure out the extent of his powers and alien stuff.
I only really know him from the cartoon.
All of that, and he's also in late seasons of Smallville, and of course the kid that played him is his assistant in this. So we have two Emil Hamiltons in this movie. We have a guy called Emil Hamilton, and then his assistant is played by the kid that played Emil Hamilton in Smallville. It's pretty awesome.
That is pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Oh, I do love this shot here because it's also in the trailer when you see Superman sort of step out and you see his foot. Step down, you see his cape like whoosh past camera. This film does have a lot of great sort of iconic sort of imagery. I mean, that's what Zack Snyder's one of his selling points. But there's still with Superman, we're still unsure. It's like, okay, he just saved everyone. We'll save one guy, but took on the bad guys, and they're still a little bit dubious about him.
Yeah, but that's fine with me. There are places where I'm like, come on, you guys are idiots. Obviously, he's on your side. They come around fast enough.
Yeah.
Because this is a situation where we can't trust you because you have the same power as those guys have. We've never seen anything like that. I mean, really, like, they're experiencing not only aliens for the first time, but, like, the breaking of the laws of physics. You wouldn't trust that guy right away either.
I'm like, man, he's got a cool costume. Right, he's a good guy. He must be a good guy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, okay, so he fought the bad guy, but he also caused tons of property damage.
It's like Martha Kent have to get a new job because Sears has been destroyed.
Yep, that's right. That's right. I don't know how she's going to rebuild that house. When Clark shows up here in a minute and she says, "Oh, it's just stuff, Clark. It can be replaced." I'm like, with what money? You're in trouble, lady. I hope you had great insurance.
Superman can repair it really quickly, as long as he's good at DIY.
Well,
or no, you could do like Superman 4 style. Just look at it and it will repair itself.
Yeah, he's got telekinesis vision. Yeah, I love telekinesis vision.
We've got budget cuts here. We're going to do it by looking at this.
Oliver, I've been a little bit depressed about something.
What's the matter?
Well, here's what makes me sad. I'm going to need to get a tissue. You and I are never going to get to do a commentary on anything ever again with telekinesis vision.
I know. It's a big show.
It just makes me cry. We don't have the really silly Superman stuff left to do anymore. Now all we have are just really serious things.
I'm sure there's a couple of silly things in Superman 2 that Richard Donner.
Oh, Donner Superman 2 will be fun. Well, yeah, because he had to use 40% Lester. There's plenty of stuff. Oh man, but yeah, I do have to say the Kryptonian wardrobe and stuff in this is fantastic.
I do like it. I love the sort of crazy sci-fi design to it. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see in more superhero films more mental science fiction elements.
And I should have said that earlier. I think that's the thing that won me over so hard on this at first and kind of made it hard for me to really think about it as critically as I wanted to, as I should have. Finally, we got a Superman film that is straight up science fiction.
Yeah, I love that idea. It's not playing the idea.
Straight up science fiction.
Yeah. I mean, we've been kind of we've obviously had other superhero films. We've got science fiction elements, but they're never completely over the top or go to another galaxy. I mean, you've got Thor.
Yeah,
you've got Thor, obviously, but.
But I'm not just talking about, oh cool, we're in space.
Yeah.
Oh cool, it's sci-fi. I'm talking real honest to God science fiction ideas. What science fiction is for.
Yes.
What we've got here is a big what if statement. What if there was a world that destroyed itself through genetic engineering like this, and that had like grew all of its people, and they were basically automatons that were forced to be whatever they were supposed to be at birth, and then one of them showed up on Earth. Go.
Sure.
That's your science fiction idea, and then through that we can explore and you can argue about how well the film actually explores it, but through those ideas we can explore notions of what makes people and free will and nature and all that stuff. That it's real honest to God science fiction.
I'm trying to remember again. Where does the world engine land? Is it in India or something like that? Or
it's in the Indian Ocean.
Indian Ocean, right? Okay.
I think. Yeah. Why is every vehicle made by Kryptonians a tripod?
I know.
All of them.
It's like kind of the War of the Worlds sort of.
It is, and what I'm assuming happened was that H.G. Wells was on a hike.
Yeah.
while he was vacationing to the Arctic, and he stumbled upon the Kryptonian ship and didn't tell anybody about it, and he wrote War of the Worlds. That's what I think must have happened.
Oh dear.
But yeah, it's okay, so your spaceship...
crazy magic mushrooms, that's what was happened.
So your spaceships and your big terraforming machine both look pretty much identical.
They do, don't they? I mean, it would have been nice for the world engine to be a little bit more crazy. It seems like a giant crab, but missing it, as it all sort of lands. I
guess the idea is supposed to be that if you can connect them up together, because the world engine works by connecting itself up to the spaceship, and then they have the beam that goes back and forth. So maybe the idea is that they have to be the same shape to make that happen.
Sure.
I don't know.
It goes a little bit like dubstep with the sort of with the bass as it destroys the city. I like that idea. It sends everything up in the air and slams it all back down again. It's quite an interesting take on a new action scene.
Yeah, sure.
With now, I mean, obviously he's trying to capture that sort of the ground level where, as you were saying earlier, about you're seeing it through everyone else's eyes or being like an observer to the action. It does work. But obviously now...
Oh my God, we can see the whole city, Oliver!
I know, oh my God, it's the first time.
Scope!
yeah, that's what I needed, some scope,
Somebody hand me some mouthwash, I can see all of it!
But obviously now the crazy action's all going to kick off now. It's going to be one ginormous sort of, not Michael Bay level, but getting there with... probably a little bit too much action, I think.
Because the problem is, through that action, we're not playing out any of those ideas.
No, we're not. No, and when you're younger, you think, oh, I'd love to see a film with loads of action, constant action. But when you're a kid, you're probably a little bit more, you can be excited a lot more easier, or be as it were. But I mean, with this, it's when there's too much action, it becomes a bit boring, and there's always. You need to level out those moments of action, just splice them, just sort of separate them throughout the ending. but it just becomes one long, laborious action scene. And when I first saw it, I felt a bit exhausted afterwards.
Yeah, me too.
It was a little bit too much.
I wonder. I'm looking at Harry Lennox in this movie, and I'm wondering how much of a Matrix fan Snyder is.
Yeah.
Because he got
Matrix, haven't you?
Yeah, because he got Harry Lennox and he got Morpheus. He got Lawrence Fishburne in the same movie. Also, what kind of a name is General Swanwick?
I know. Why didn't they just use an existing sort of character from the comics?
Well, there's not a lot of major generals unless you go to supervillains. So, like, you could make him Metallo.
That's interesting. But then it
or you could use a cop, or you could use a cop and make them a military person.
Sure.
Like, you could have made it. Who's the lady Metropolis cop? Her name's not coming to me, but there's a major female cop in Metropolis.
Sure.
That everybody goes to.
Oh.
It's gonna kill me now. I can't remember her name. Urgh!
But it's also what frustrated me was, because Hans Zimmer had come up with this, it was an interesting take on the Superman theme. It was his own new theme, and it worked. I liked it. It was the best they sort of could have come up with without using John Williams's, sort of classic march. But we don't get it until the end credits, which drives me nuts. It's like, you want that Superman theme, but you've got to wait to the end credits when everyone's leaving the theatre. I wanted to see Superman, once, let's say, for example, you could introduce the Superman theme once he destroys the world engine. And he flies back to Metropolis at top speed, and they kick the music in, and he just takes out Zod's, that spaceship, and then it all kicks off, and then when he face off Zod again, when they square off at the end, had the Superman theme kick in little moments, but it doesn't do that until the end. It's kind of to sort of make those scenes more heroic.
And I think maybe the problem with that though would be you're gonna build up like the really kind of optimistic tone finally after all of this really heavy kind of uncertain stuff, and then he's gonna kill Zod.
True. But
that would be the only problem with that idea. Yeah. By the way, Maggie Sawyer was the.
Oh, okay. Well, that will please some of your fans listening and go, wait a minute, and they've already commented probably.
Yeah. Well, you know who that? I just couldn't remember her name. Maggie Sawyer.
Oh, it's that moment you mentioned earlier.
Here it is. Oh, I love this. It's great because I love that we have an identity thing where he makes a big deal out of, well, you're not really Jor-El, you're his computer ghost, and what are you really? And then I'm gonna have to kill you now. Can you feel it? Are you gonna feel pain? Because the thing is, again, the movie really kind of plays up this idea that they're sort of almost like an artificial intelligence. True. In the way they've been, biologically. Informed, and so.
Well, I think that's why he can pass on his essentially his subconscious onto.
That's a really good point because it's all biology. Yeah, because it's all biological. Yeah, and so the biological USB stick.
Yeah.
And so anyway, but I just think that all of that is super cool and it's super interesting. And then you've got that line where he says Jor-El, or where he says Zod, we're both ghosts.
Yes. That's always. This film does have some little great nuggets of dialogue.
It's got some really thoughtful stuff, but it just doesn't go far enough with it, and it's not at the It's just not at the forefront. But that stuff is what made me in the theater go, "Oh man, I'm thinking so hard about this." So you've got. So you got both of them as figurative and literal ghosts, and then the idea is supposed to be that he's a relic. He wasn't supposed to survive. He was meant to stay in the Phantom Zone.
Oh yeah, of course.
And the question is, now Superman's not there for that. But then kind of the ethical question is, does that sort of help justify Superman killing him a little bit? Does it, or is that justified anyway? Is it anyway?
I mean, how the story's being written, they've written it in a way for Superman to kill him. They could have written themselves out of it. It's not. I think when we'll get to it, I think we should discuss it.
We will. We will.
It is a a big topic that people is one of the main riding points people dislike the movie. But also this girl Jenny. Now for some reason they chose to have shots of lingering on her where Perry's trying to save her, and as an audience member, you don't care about her because you haven't been. There's not enough.
We barely met her. I don't even remember meeting that character. And then it's just like, even if it was Jimmy Olsen, even if he had freckles and he was carrying a camera and all of that, if we hadn't met him earlier in the film, it'd still be hard to care.
I'd be like,
Jimmy's in this movie to almost get crushed.
Yeah. I mean, that's that whole moment there where he's trying to reach out to Jenny, so you've got to hold on, I'll get you out soon, whatever. It's like, really?
I don't care. What are we doing? All you had to do was put Perry in there. We would have cared a smidge more.
Oh, definitely.
Like, why didn't you make that scene well, I guess Lois isn't there, but if somehow it had been like I don't want to rewrite the movie, but if it had been like there's a scene where we had enough Lois and Perry dialogue that we know that they've known each other for years and they care about each other, and then she has to save him.
Yeah.
Then that'd be okay.
But I think any filmmaker looking at that would say that's a bad scene. It should have been I think something's been deleted. I think something's been removed. So
if not, that is a quagmire. Why did you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the huge arguments that I hear against another thing against Zod's plan in this movie is that it's built on a false premise because Zod doesn't have to use Earth. He's got a terraforming machine.
He can go anywhere he wants.
He can go anywhere he wants. Yeah. Why does it have to be Earth? Once again, bad communication on the part of the film. Also, this is a very easy problem to solve, and I'll solve it for you real quick.
Perfect.
The way you solve it is that you bring more to the forefront Zod's anger and his thirst for revenge against Superman for going against his people and choosing the humans.
Sure.
He doesn't make it enough about that. That's all you had to do. But he's already chosen to do that before he and Superman have had any screen time.
Yep.
But all you had, or much of any, I think maybe any. So all he's got to do is wait to make that choice. He could go, okay, we're going to rebuild the planet, but first I'm going to find the Codex. And then he has some screen time with Superman. And he can tell that Superman's going to choose humans over him, and he goes, "Oh man, I can't deal with that." Like maybe even make him again. Don't want to rewrite it, but maybe make it his chance to almost reconcile with Jor-El by becoming friends with his son. Like, why don't we do the whole supervillain trying to get the hero to join him thing? That's what it should have been. Oh man. Anyway,
but also coming up, we know with Superman stands up in the beam of light to sort of shoot up through the world engine. Now, many people had said he looks like Christopher Reeve in a minute because it looks like they've thrown in a still frame with Christopher Reeve. Now, you see the ripples on his face as the sort of pressure hits him. Look very. I'm sure you may have noticed it before.
I haven't. I'm going to look at it right now.
Okay, so when he begins to look like he's straining to go for a poo, he looks as a close up of him, and it looks just like Christopher Reeve. It's uncanny because I watched it again when my friend, who I'd not told him about this, he was like, "Wait a minute, that was Christopher Reeve." I was like, "Yeah, it kind of looks like him," but they did deny it and say no, we didn't do that. But I think here we go. Look, he's getting.
Oh, here it is.
Closely.
Yeah, it does look a lot like him.
I think
it's something about the way the air is rippling across his face.
Yeah, it sort of thins out his lips and.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
okay. No, that's cool. You're right. I think in the theater I remembered thinking it was resembling him, but not that it looked just like him.
Yeah, okay. But if it was, if they put it in attention, that would be awesome. To sort of say, Chris Reeve's still there.
Well, also it would have been kind of a symbolic moment of he's turning into the real Superman now.
Yes.
Like this is him making.
This is where it should have been. When he should have gone, through that world engine, and suddenly the Superman theme kicks in, and then he flies back to Metropolis. But now he collapses now because he's knackered and he's weakened. But which is in all purposes of the story is good because Superman's just used a lot of energy and nearly killed himself.
Yeah.
But for me to sort of throw in these more heroic moments, I would have changed it around.
Well, and, I can buy that over carrying a giant mountain of kryptonite.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So some people, I've heard some people even complain that it's wrong to do even a Superman reboot without the John Williams theme. I disagree with that. I don't think you could have gone there.
It's tough to say, matey.
Really? Really?
I
I
mean,
don't
for
think
me,
you want to do that.
I see the Superman theme as like part of the James Bond thing, where James Bond's always got the Bond theme, and Superman should, I think, should always have the Superman theme. But it is, I mean,
Well, we had never had a proper reboot before,
it's true, but also I can argue with the fact I can sympathise with other people saying it doesn't work because I did make a trailer for Man of Steel with the John Williams theme, but used Ken Thorne's version from Superman 2. It does kind of work, but not completely. So obviously because how the music was recorded and how the sound is, you could orchestrate it differently and make it work, but it's tough.
Well,
It's tough. It's tough.
Can I suggest that more people's feelings would have been hurt had it been there, and then they still felt like it was too cynical and not Superman? That's the reason I'm glad it's not there, because
you know what I mean?
because here's the thing: I don't entirely feel that way about it. I also feel like I don't want to read too crazy hard into the ending because we haven't seen him continue and progress from there. This is not exactly a Superman film. It's more of a pre-Superman film. I'm glad it's not there because you had so many people saying, "Oh man, this isn't my Superman. This is not what Superman's supposed to be like." And that was one of my problems with Superman Returns was I don't feel like he stands for the ideals the movie says he does. So I don't want that theme in there that represents those ideals.
Yeah. Because Superman Returns spends the entire time saying, you know, why the world doesn't need a Superman, and it kind of shows that it doesn't really need it because James Marsden saves the day, kind of. But hopefully in the next Superman film we have his new theme played out when he's on screen, and not
that'd be awesome.
And not
that'd be nice
to the end credits, and that would just be such a major disappointment for me.
I gotta tell you, I'm excited to get to the credits now because I've never paid any attention to. I didn't realize there really was a fanfare. I paid no attention to it.
Oh, didn't you?
No, I'm excited to get there. Is it good?
Oh yeah, well, you've heard it though. You've heard Superman.
Have I?
It's in the trailer, isn't it? It's in the trailer for Superman.
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, were you confused there? Like,
is that what we're talking about? Yeah. Okay. Well, it just didn't occur to me that it's not in the movie, but I guess it's not in the movie.
It's not in the movie at all. It builds up to it. The sort of the drama.
Okay. Okay. Oh, you're talking about like the
Yeah. Where's going?
Like that thing?
No,
the one that was that earlier in the film.
No, the one that was in the third trailer that got everyone so excited.
Oh no, I haven't. I don't think I've really paid any attention to that because I don't think maybe I didn't watch that trailer. I don't know. Oh man, now I'm all confused. Okay, when we get there, I'm either gonna go holy crap or I'm gonna go yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about. I'm not even sure. Anyway.
Oh, I loved it. Again, you see, is it Theora? What's her name? Theora.
Theora.
Yeah, which was a sort of top speed punching. I absolutely adore it. I think it's fantastic.
So that's obviously the Ursa counterpart. She's actually comic book. We don't really have anybody specifically to take the non-place here.
Well, that big lug dude from earlier on was kind of non, but you know he was.
It would have been nice to have a straight up Jack Sawyer in this, and I don't think we got that.
No, but I think she does a better job than the Ursa character. I think she's far more threatening and far more, and there is. Do you think there's kind of a?
We are gonna have to agree to disagree on that.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I can see what you're saying.
Has better dialogue, I think.
Really menacing looks and stuff, but no, I think she's good in describe. But I guess I don't know. I like mixing that with spunk, and in this we just have these like really, really serious characters that don't ever say anything clever. But again,
I mean, the problem got better dialogue, but I think also down to how special effects have improved. You get to see her do far more things.
Yeah, part of the problem is you got this idea of, again, genetic engineering, and these people aren't built to have personalities.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Wouldn't have personality. So the thing is, Zod and Jor-El are the closest thing to having their own individual ideas and ways of thinking and personalities of anybody on Krypton. So I feel like I kind of have to give the movie that. Like, a lot of people are like, oh man, there's nobody charismatic in this movie. I mean, yeah, you could have given Superman a lot more personality in his first outing. I'll give you that. But I don't know that Zod could be anything but what he is. Then again, he is pretty freaking theatrical.
I know, I think he has quite a good personality.
I don't know.
Michael Shannon really sells dialogue, even though dialogue maybe delivered by someone else may not have worked at all.
Maybe so, but it's also funny though to see Michael Shannon play something like that incredibly stolid because he's in real life hilarious.
Yeah. Also, do you think this scene was kind of inappropriate with Superman, making out with Lois, with all this destruction surrounding him?
I didn't really think about it like that. I feel like it's kind of your general culmination of okay, they've been through this really horrible thing together, and they're supposed to, be love interests, and they haven't had a chance to really do that yet.
It's so funny that we cut to these people like dead, lying on the floor, and he's like, "Let's make out." It's just...
that's a thing. I get that. More, what irritates me is the dialogue.
Oh, dialogues. I think dialogue.
I'm sorry. I think it's awful. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't like it. When he says, "Oh, I think she's like it goes downhill from the first kiss." That's only when you're kissing a human. Oh, Goyer, you are an idea guy, friend. Goyer still has good ideas sometimes, but he should not be allowed to write dialogue. And if he does write dialogue, people need to rewrite it because he's written lately a bunch of scripts that somebody comes in and rewrites, and you can always tell when his dialogue is still there.
Yeah. Well, just look at Blade 3, you know what I mean?
Well, and I don't know, man. Where is it? There's a scene somewhere in here where Superman has almost that exact I think it's coming up when he's like when Superman's like, Zod, I'm gonna stop you. And Batman said that in Dark Knight Rises, and Goyer doesn't have script writing credit for that, but I think he has some story credit.
Yeah.
And he must have written some dialogue in that movie because I don't feel like
it's where he is, isn't it?
I'm here to stop you. I feel like I'm watching 5-year-olds play with action figures. People that are listening, I know people hate it when I say anything negative about Dark Knight Rises because I don't like it as much as other people. But that and it's not horror. I like things about it. I'll eventually get to it with Rewind. But all I'm saying is, I think that's a dumb line of dialogue.
Yeah. Definitely.
I'm sorry, I don't like it. If you like it, cool. I think it's bad dialogue. Anyway, sorry.
I mean, do you remember in the behind the scenes where Superman, this scene in the moment where he levitates off the floor and it's got 5 different wires off him, Bloody hell, it's a bit too much.
Yeah, and then you when you look at the behind the scenes, somebody's holding his cape up.
I know.
That too. There's a bunch of places where you can see somebody holding his cape and rippling it and stuff. It's awesome.
And in the Christopher Reeve ones, they had a machine underneath his cape, just made his cape flutter, which is quite cool.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, Zod's heat vision is orange.
Oh yes, it was a bit more intense, isn't it?
Yeah, he's mad. He's got thought heat vision. He's thinking real hard. And then it's
I do. There's this moment coming up though when
it's because it's the first time he's ever used it.
That's true. I love the moment.
But it's awesome.
He's flying through all the carnage. That's a good flying shot. I like.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, regardless of of issues I have with pacing and this movie having too much action all at once and stuff, we were waiting to see this level of intensity in a Superman fight.
Well, yeah, I mean, we spent so long moaning that Superman doesn't punch anything, and doesn't get into fights. Yeah. And I don't. Well, that shouldn't be, a reason why you should have loads of action, but but yeah, it's just to see Superman on such a large scale and what he could do, if he's in a fight.
It's nice to finally get something that feels a little bit more comic book inspired.
It does. It just goes a little bit. It just goes a little bit too far with it. It doesn't know when to. It's gone up. It's turned the action up to 11, and.
Well, and a lot of people on the other side that really love this movie, and obviously I'm somewhere in the middle. A lot of people who really love this movie say, well, you fanboys wanted Superman punching people for so long, you finally got it. Now you're complaining. I'm well, it's good and it's not good, right? You don't want the opposite of not enough.
I love the way he climbs up the building.
Yeah, I know, it's hilarious.
He goes up,
What are you, Shere Khan?
That's mental. But I mean, when people argue all the time as label people fanboys, I think it's kind of a derogative term when to keep labeling people fanboys as a way to sort of put some into a category that people don't like them. It's everyone's fallen into the trap of being a fanboy, but it's how far you take it, and I think.
Well, we all
all are fans of something, and we will be will support it as much as we can, and and try and
Yeah,
defend it. But
and we all have different experiences. We come to stuff from different places, so we're all gonna not be able to help but care about different stuff than other people.
Oh, of course, of course. But some people just let one little thing of a film destroy their whole experience of it. I try not to let that do that for myself. I mean, because
that's where the real problem comes
that's
from.
it's the whole destruction now and the killing of Zod. They can make, or they could say the whole killing of Zod, made them hate the movie. I wouldn't let that one thing destroy my enjoyment of it. And there's so much more to it.
Well, to be fair though, that's also the big. But to be fair, I mean, if you read it a certain way, it could destroy the whole movie. You're not talking about one small element. You're talking about a climax.
Yeah, it's a climax, but it's they let that one element just they end up hating the entire movie. But my attitude has always been like, yeah, it is a problem, but they've gone with that direction, and if you can't really accept it, then well, you just.
Well, and now that we're about to get there, I'm gonna start off that discussion.
Sure, go for it. Yeah, because it's all gonna
get there. Because we're gonna get there fast. But I should also say this is all awesome, and I love that there is. I've been trying to read this, and you know me. Sometimes maybe I look a little too deep into stuff. I love that right there. There's a place called Utopia Casino.
Yeah, man. I just noticed that. But where's that from? What are they trying to reference with that?
I don't think it's referencing anything.
So you've seen X-Corp. Now we're going to see Wayne Enterprises on the satellite.
Right, but I think that there's potentially kind of like thematic thing where we're just sort of referencing this notion of utopia. Zod's trying to recreate Krypton. For him, that's utopia.
Sure.
And it's a movie about hope, and the world's going to be a lot better if it's an intentional word choice.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so I'm going to start this killing Zod discussion thing by saying that I don't think the problem is that he kills Zod. I think the problem is that the movie doesn't spend enough time discussing it.
No, it doesn't. It cuts to a happy scene straight afterwards, which is a traditional way of with movie making. You have a sad moment, but you've got to play it out with a happy scene afterwards, or a more positive moment.
It neither prepares us for it, nor does it give us time to think about it.
No, it doesn't. No.
And that's the problem with it. It's communication. Why exactly is this happening? And you can tell from what Snyder says when he's interviewed about this that he thinks that they've made it clear enough that Superman was forced to do this. But the pacing of a lot of scenes in this is already way too fast, and there's a lot of not allowing things to breathe. So it's paced the way the rest of the movie's been paced.
It has.
And that's the problem with it, right?
I didn't. It's not a huge problem for me that Zod being killed off in this way, this manner. But I still would have liked Zod to come back in some other form, like to be sent to the Phantom Zone. Like I suppose he was supposed to be sent that way, was what Nolan had wanted. But they tried to do something a bit more daring and show Superman. He's to learn his responsibilities, that he can't kill people, and he's obviously he's hugely upset for what he's done. But as you say, it doesn't linger on that scene for too long. It cuts to another scene, and it should have weighed on his conscience a little bit more. But maybe that will be dealt with in the sequel.
Maybe so, and hopefully we'll look back on this and we'll feel better about it. And again, it happens so quickly. It's right at the end. It's a thing that I can't help but think real hard about it. But then at the same time, the people that made it didn't think that hard about it. And that's the difficulty with it, is that from everything I've read, and this could have been blown out of proportion, I don't know. But from everything I've read, Goyer wanted a punchier ending. He just thought that Zod sucking the Phantom Zone was too typical. He wanted something punchier, so that's what they went with. Well, the problem with that is I don't know that they thought enough about the implications. I don't think they. First of all, you have to rewrite the movie to match. You can't just put that in. You've got to go back in and prepare us in some way for that, more than they did. There's a lot of stuff like that in this movie that we've already touched on, where there'll be like a little mention of something, and that's supposed to be enough. There's a line right before that happens where they're going up the building, where Zod says either I die or you will, and he's making a big deal out of, I'm going to kill all of these people if you don't do something. And I think that once you think about it, yeah, maybe Superman didn't have another choice. A lot of people say, well, he could have flown up. Yeah, he could have saved those people right then, but the point is, what's he going to do with Zod?
Yeah, because the Phantom Zone, or that's all been, that sort of dimensional gateway's been closed. So
may I suggest May I suggest another way they could have played that scene out?
Go for it.
This would have been darker, but I don't know if it's a problem for this movie.
Okay.
What if Superman is hesitating and hesitating and hesitating, and then Zod actually fries one of them, and then he kills him?
Well, yeah, he could have shown him hurting an individual, and Superman loses temper. Then he's driven to kill him. He now has a major reason that he's hurt someone, because he's trying to protect the people.
And then he learns that there is a time and a time and a place for that. It's. He learns earlier from his father, from Jonathan Kent, that you can't be ruled by temper, but what happens when you hold back too much? And considering the whole movie, I just thought of this. Considering the whole movie with him and Jonathan's relationship is about Jonathan thinking he has to hold back. What if his holding back leads to somebody getting killed like that?
Yeah. Oh, that's essentially what's happened.
So would it have been? Would fewer people have complained if somebody got fried?
They probably would have complained less, actually. But as you're saying, they didn't think clearly, and they put the implications what the fans would say, because most fans were like, "That's what Superman doesn't kill. Superman doesn't do that." But there is, people have said to me, there is examples in the comics where Superman has killed people. Maybe in a series of comics, but doesn't make that series of comics legit. Doesn't make it. That's the written rule.
Well, it's not. I don't think it's about whether or not it's the written rule. I think it's about what you want to say. Here's the thing: what people are complaining about, I think they think that they're complaining that Superman should never kill. I think what they're really complaining about is that Superman was put in that situation because Superman in a lot of places stands for there's always another way. But we all know that there are times where there is no other way.
Sure.
Right? Like what else would he have done? I do buy the situation. I don't see the Phantom Zone is gone. What's he going to do? And also understand that he is limited by his ignorance. He doesn't know about lead. He doesn't know about kryptonite. He doesn't know how far in space he can fly.
Sure.
He doesn't know anything
He's still
about his power.
And that's probably the result of him killing Zod. But
So,
this is all a learning. I know as me and you both understand, this whole film is a learning curve for Superman. So now he knows he shouldn't. He won't kill people again. He's made a big mistake. For him, in his eyes, he's made a huge mistake.
Well, we don't know that for sure. I mean, he's angry that he was forced to have
he's killed
to
the
do
last,
that.
of his race, and he.
Oh yeah, and that's horrible. Yeah. But we should have had him. But the big thing is, he should have mourned that. We should have had a little bit of time.
More time. Yeah. It should have had another. That scene we had with his mum. That should have been the moment where he mourned about Zod. That
movie ends 10 minutes before it should have.
Yes, it does. Yes, but now it's got the Superman music in now. So.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
Right at the end,
Okay, that was only used in the trailers. You're right about that. I don't see that as much of the same sort of fanfare, but yeah.
But that's the Superman theme. That's Hans Zimmer's new theme, and it's I enjoyed it, but we haven't really discussed much of the other part of the soundtrack. I mean, there is a couple of tracks where the Zod's theme was that sort of heavy drums. A lot of this whole film is just drums, and I think the theme is great, but everything else is kind of. Hans Zimmer essentially on autopilot. It doesn't at all it lacks the character of John Williams' work and many other composers' work at the moment. But Hans Zimmer just seems to be getting lumped. Well, seems to be getting the jobs of every superhero film. And the Spider-Man 2 one was pretty much garbage. I thought it was. It sounded like the theme tune was like for the Olympics. It sounded weird. But
yeah, Spider-Man shot put.
yeah. But. It's pretty redundant in many areas, but it's it's traditional Hans Zimmer stuff, and some people like it, some people hate it, and
I think it's fine. On the other hand, I have a lot of that with certain things about this movie where I mean some things obviously like I said about the science fiction ideas and stuff I think are really stellar on paper, but like I don't know, I have the same feeling about Hans Zimmer that I do about Goyer. Do we have to go back to the same well when we're rebooting?
Well, you're saying using the same music or the style?
No, I'm saying the same people.
Oh, same people, sorry.
I'm saying the same people that made Batman Begins should not get to make Superman Begins. If it's not set in the same universe.
It would have been nice to have
because since this is the beginning of a DC cinematic universe, we are rebooting Batman at the same time, even though we haven't gotten Batman yet. And I know I'm saying this in retrospect, knowing that Goyer is also involved. And people are going to say, yeah, that other guy from Argo is rewriting it. I know, but Goyer is involved story-wise, so it's still a thing. Should the same people, shouldn't we get new sensibilities? Should we get people with fresh perspectives?
Oh, definitely someone with a fresh, fresh ideas. It's it's actually obviously with the composer Hans Zimmer's returning. It would have been just so many more composers out there who would have died to do this.
Yeah,
but he's taken a lot of easy routes. I mean, it may be many decisions played on Warner's behalf. We want these people that made Dark Knight trilogy. It was successful. Translate this to Superman.
We're playing it safe. Well, here's the thing. I would have been a lot. This just sounds so funny. I would have been so much more okay with this whole movie on the whole. And again, stand alone. I love a lot of things about it, as I've said.
Yeah, we've both agreed on a lot of things we enjoyed about it.
A lot of things we really, really like about this. It's really lopsided, but there's a lot of cool stuff about it. Here's the thing, though. I think the whole project's better if it's set in the Dark Knight universe.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean,
I really believe that.
It's I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I would have preferred to, them to be a little bit more daring with their ideas. Marvel, extremely daring with their decisions with their directors.
It feels like they're trying to do the more grounded sort of Superman. And people say, "Oh, well, it's got aliens and stuff." Well, yeah, inherently, but it's not real over the top about. I mean, maybe some of the action, but I'm just saying, like, it really kind of feels like they've got the same Batman sensibilities that they have when they made Batman Begins.
Oh, sorry, yes, also, I must have misheard you earlier. Yeah. I could...
Also, I'm just saying, the thing is, if you're going to reboot and you're going to do a new DC universe, I want it to not feel like it could have been part of Nolan's Batman. There's no reason this couldn't have been in that universe at all. It feels like the same thing to me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And not the same thing, but you see what I'm saying? Like, okay, in the same way that, and I mean, they work to varying degrees, because you know how much I love Batman Begins.
Yeah.
But Batman Begins, I mean, it's like one of my favorite things. But Batman Begins is an exploration of the notion of fear.
Yeah.
This is trying to be by starting off Batman and figuring out what he's all about. This is doing the same thing with Hope.
Sure.
The exact same thing. There are so many parallels to be drawn between the two movies.
As you're saying, it goes with being on the same people, because it's like with sequels as well. I mean, if you get different directors, different people doing certain aspects of it, it feels fundamentally different in a way.
Yeah, and like that, and the thing is, sequels should be sometimes the same people because you're making a series.
But when you, with some unfortunate ways where you get like a different effects company doing the special effects, but it's the same other people, but it feels fundamentally different because of these effects team are different because they're not used to that universe, how to create those effects, or are not comfortable with what they've done before. So with this film, you've got these people who are already comfortable with that universe, and they're trying to translate it over, and it's an easy route for them.
And so the idea is the studio's saying these are the people that we need because it'll be successful if they do it.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why they do it in the first place.
It's Warner's for you, mate. I mean, they don't take the risks like Marvel do.
I know I harp on that all the time.
Guardians of the Galaxy, directed by James Gunn. Who would have thought that? It's mental. But
who would have ever thought anybody would give that guy any amount of money?
Yeah, a guy from Troma films, to Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, this is this whole film is played safe. It's ticked all the boxes, what they need, but it doesn't feel unique in its own way. It doesn't have its...
But here's what's really perplexing about that. We're saying that it's playing it safe, and it sort of is.
But it does have some interesting ideas which are new.
Well, here's what I was going to say though. You're right, but like with the initial who we're going to get to do it, yes. But here's the quagmire. We're gonna start off the DC cinematic universe with a film in which Superman kills the bad guy. How accessible is that?
Yeah.
What are we doing? I mean, whether you like it or not, that is weird business, man.
I know it's ballsy and daring, but it's they've.
But not for the right reasons.
I know not for the right reasons.
So I don't know, man. So you see why I'm so I'm just completely mystified by some of those choices.
It's kind of like Superman Returns with Superman having a kid. It's like what else are you going to do with that? What would that leave for the sequel, which never happened? But it left people divided, and it was a ballsy move, but also a very risky one. And they've done the same here, but also a different scenario.
Was it the right kind of risk? Why did we do it? You know,
Yeah.
what were we really saying with that? Like you know, were we being like brave and doing something controversial because it's pushing an envelope that needs to be pushed? Like, why are we doing it? So I'm just saying that, like, if they had him kill Zod and the film had been all about sometimes, unfortunately, this kind of thing has to happen even when you have the sort of ideal Superman has, yeah, cool. You know, yeah, that's really interesting. But like, I don't know, man. We're in a day and age where people really kind of feel like things have gotten way too cynical, and we're making so many post-apocalyptic movies and stuff like that. Don't we need the idealistic Superman right now?
We need a Superman film which has a great sense of fun and captures what Superman's all about. And this film didn't really deliver that. I mean,
and that's the thing, is that it keeps telling us it's about hope. It keeps telling us that like, you know, we're supposed to, he's going to give us something to strive for. But what exactly does he stand for? Well, hopefully we'll get it later. The problem is the movie can't go far enough because he doesn't know.
Also, which is also annoying for me, was like the film ended with Clark Kent, fine, okay, cool. But I really wanted it to end with Superman's just flying around being Superman. And with the music kicks in, very much like the end of Spider-Man 1, he's flying through New York and he flies past, you know, the American flag, whatever. Those little moments which kind of tail end the film.
Yeah, and say whatever you want to about Amazing Spider-Man 2, it got that kind of ending, and that was awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to have something like that, and it was missing that. And I thought, oh, poo, you know, it doesn't end on a triumphant, you know, moment, you know.
Yeah, but you know. Well, hey, look, just admit it, Oliver. You wanted the film to end with him saving a cat out of a tree. That's what
I wanted to fly over the earth and wink at camera and fly off.
Well, but they did a quick homage to that, obviously.
Well, yeah, they did. We should have been carrying. Oh yeah, we should have ended like Superman 2, just carrying the flag for no whatever reason, you know.
That's the only thing we'll talk about this when we get there. That's the only thing I don't like about the Donner cut, is that it doesn't have that.
I know, and he goes back. I hate that. Back in time and beats up the thug for no reason because he wouldn't have remembered.
Yeah, for no reason. Excuse me, would you like to step outside?
Who are you?
I know. Oh, it's hilarious. Well, we finally are at the end of this 50-minute credit sequence, and yeah, well, you needed a whole bunch of different animators for all of that. But it was also
good this film was shot in, you know, anamorphic 35mm. It wasn't shot on digital, which was good. So he's supporting film still, which is nice.
Yeah.
Which is good to see.
That's a good point.
Yeah, digital can go away. Go away, digital. We need film still. Shoot everything on IMAX, I'll be happy.
Well, Oliver, so we're at the end of the credits. Was this a better or a worse experience watching it while talking about it?
It was better. It was better, actually. I mean, you instilled some new ideas into my head and some, you know, good theories of yours. So yeah, it's, you know, I've not come out thinking I dislike the movie more. I've come out thinking, yeah, it's, you know, it's still the same as I thought before. But you know, it's the fourth time I've seen it now, so I'm going to be watching it again soon anyway. So with someone else. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I had a good time. So I'm sure, hopefully, you've enjoyed your time talking about the film, and I managed to express everything that's been building up the last year or so.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to finally get to talk about it.
Trying to address all the complaints at once,
like, at length, and get all that in there. Well, I know, and I'm really surprised after, you know, I saw it last year and was raving about it, that I had as many complaints as I did.
Yeah, it happens, man. Some people, you know, at the time you're so thrown back by something that's completely different, and you're wrapped up in the hype for it, and then you sort of you digest all the ideas and how the film is like, oh, it's not as good as I originally thought, but. I had a better time watching this than Superman Returns the first time. Superman Returns, I came out thinking I didn't know what to think about it. I didn't know what to say. I had to see it again to make sure. But this film, I knew what I liked about it when I came out, but I also had reservations. But now, over time, it's kind of, you know, I became less interested, but I still, you know, I'll still happily watch it again.
I do hope that the sequels, like you know, fix some of the pacing issues and stuff, and like make it a little lighter. I mean, they don't have to do the 180 like Amazing Spider-Man did, sure. I don't know. I hope it's a little bit. I hope they bring a little bit more lightness to it. But also, I think that they have a real opportunity to make this a better movie by whatever they do with it.
I hope they address the complaints on this film and listen to the fans and say, okay, like, let's correct this for the second one. But also, well, I want to watch it and then come out of the film and think, I want to watch that again, and not just be like, yeah, it's all right, or I'll watch it in a month or so. I want to come out of it and say, wow, I want to go back in there and watch it again. And that's
precisely
the Superman film I want to see.
Well, I just feel like a Superman film ought to make me feel like Winter Soldier did. I mean, I went to Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
I wanted to walk right back out.
You want to come out feeling really high and happy after seeing a Superman film and going, wow, I can't wait to see another one. It's.
And this will be the last thing I'll say. As I've always said, you can make a dark Superman film. You just have to not make him dark.
Exactly.
And I don't feel like this made him dark. I felt like it separated people far enough from him that they couldn't decide who he was.
Good point. Good observation. Well done.
Well, next time Oliver and I get together, we're going to do the Superman 2 Donner cut, which I'm super, super stoked to do. And then after that, we're going to come up with some other things to do because Oliver, I know we're going to be done with Superman, but I'm not going to let you off the hook because you are just way too much fun to talk. I know I'm not going to let you go, man. I'm going to milk you for all you're worth, and I appreciate your future cooperation.
No problem. I'm more than happy to do more stuff with you, so don't worry.
Thanks for being here, man. This is a lot of fun.
Okay.
Everybody, thanks as always for listening to our commentary podcast. I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Oliver. Goodbye.
And we shall bid you farewell.